Greetings, everyone. And welcome to a monstrously mobile episode of Monster Party. Monster Party!
Monster Party!
We're coming around the corner.
This is a high octane episode.
Rev up your engines. I don't know what that sound is, but
it's like a broken...
enjoy yourself.
Well, okay, and speaking of enjoying yourself, who are you, sir?
Wow, once again, right on the nose. I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Strothe.
And I'm James GONIS.
And for this episode, if you didn't figure it out already, it has something to do with cars.
Yes!
And motorcycles.
Yes.
The topic is...
What is our racing topic?
Wicked Wheels.
Wicked Wheels! It's
Now,
wicked, it's badass, it's
Yeah,
cool!
Well,
yeah.
wicked isn't cool.
It's
Wicked
kind of
isn't evil.
Yeah, double meaning.
Yeah.
How do you like that?
Ooh.
Yeah.
We're not talking your dad's, old Ford.
Unless it was used
Unless it's
to kill.
possessed.
Which I have a feeling it might have. There's a lot of times where he came home and I just didn't ask questions.
And you know what? We're going to talk about wicked wheels, but
So movies with cars,
Yes,
and motorcycles,
television
and cool
vehicles,
television,
and
vehicular
Matt,
craziness.
we have someone who knows a lot about wicked wheels.
But we have to. Who could we possibly get that would be the perfect guest for this episode?
Who could we get?
Tell us, James.
This gentleman is a longtime friend of ours. He is a consummate voiceover actor.
Voice-over actor.
He was the voice of the Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
The Tonight Show. with
Friend
Jay
of
Leno.
our show.
Yes.
In a lot of ways, tonight he will be the voice of our show.
And
Yes.
this is his
True.
third appearance as a guest on Monster Party.
How do you like
Right.
that?
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Wally Wingert is with us.
Hello, everybody. Hi, how are you?
Welcome back,
Wally Wingert with Wicked Wheels. How many other W words can we
yeah,
throw in
that's
there?
You are amazing.
right.
You did a panel at Comic-Con on voiceovers, and you were fantastic.
Thank you very much. Oh, you were there. That's right. 'Cause
I
we
was.
We did our exercises. And
Yeah,
so
you
with
did the exercises,
working the voice, and
then
the-
then you did all these voices. You were amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank
Your
you.
voice just blows
His
my
voices
mind.
I can figure out, though. I don't know what you did.
And Wally, every time I watch Family Guy, I wait for the end credits to see if your name comes up because at least half the time it comes up.
So does my banker. He does the same thing. It's on the TV. Good.
Mr. Drysdale?
Cha-ching, cha-ching. Yeah, Mr. Drysdale.
And I love the fact that it's often up right in the same card with Adam West, who
Well,
was a hero of yours.
That was kind of a thing that I noticed early on because they would do the cast alphabetically.
Right.
And I have a screenshot framed in my room that says Adam West, Wally Wingert
I love
from
that.
the end, and I was like, I look at that every day. I'm like,
That's
wow,
awesome.
That's wonderful.
that's pretty amazing.
Now, speaking of Adam West, maybe we should just start this off with the obvious choice. Yeah. If we're talking about Wicked Wheels, I mean, you can't get much better than
None wickeder.
that Batmobile. And I'm not talking about all Batmobiles.
I was going to say, which Batmobile?
I'm talking about the 1960s television Batmobile.
Right.
George Barris.
The George Barris iconic Batmobile that's been copied in so many ways. Like, even when you watch cartoons now, they've all got a little bit of that flair. You know, you could tell like this thing has made an indelible mark.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In car design when it comes to anything fantasy or sci-fi.
And before, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like before that 60s Batman TV show, any kind of decked out, fanciful, out there kind of vehicle in a TV show, was there really anything? Like, I mean, looking back to early 60s or 50s TV, like...
My Mother the Car.
But that was just a regular
Yeah, it's just
car,
a regular thing.
though.
And even in the serials,
Was
the
it
Batman
Wicked?
serials, it
In
wasn't
the other
Wicked
way.
at all.
Right. It was just a... Yeah.
Yeah.
Freaking-
It was a sedan in the
Yeah.
serials.
Was that show any good? I never watched
Well, My
one
Mother the
episode.
Car?
Yeah.
No. Well, I'm talking about the Batman serials back in the 40s where
Oh,
the
no.
Batmobile was just like a humpy
car.
looking
Yeah,
car.
right. It's like Robin borrowed, a car from his uncle.
Pretty much just like everything in Hollywood, it was a stroke of luck. It just all came together, a convergence of a lot of different things.
Kismet. It just
In the
kinda happened.
50s, and you can actually see the car in a couple of different movies before it was the Batmobile.
Really?
It was a Ford Futura. It was a prototype car that Ford made back in the 50s.
No.
With the bubbly windows and the open cockpit, and it was called a Ford Futura. That was what they figured the future of automobiles would look like.
Right.
If only.
Yeah, if only. So George Barris knew about this prototype car. He had seen it in some movies. And so when he got the job to do the Batmobile, he said, I wonder if Ford would let me have that or what. Ford's like, we're done with it. We'll sell it to you. They sold it to George Barris for $1.
No.
$1. So he paid $1 for the Ford Futura, full metal body.
Was it just one, Wally?
Just one. It was one prototype car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he made first thing he did was make a mold of it, so he could do copy cars for stunt cars, and then he wanted to take it on the road. So the deal that he made with 20th Century Fox to do the show was, well, I'll lease this vehicle to you, but I still get to own it. It's my design. And they're like, fine. Because a television show back then could not incur the expense of having to create an automobile. But George Barris, being the genius he was, said, I know this car is going to have a life beyond Batman, and I want to be the owner of it.
Wow.
And God bless George, and may he rest in peace. He was an absolute genius on this. So he made the Ford Futura into the Batmobile by changing very few things, actually. It already kind of looked like that. It had the fins, the bubble windows.
Is that right?
Yeah. He put the grill on the front, and he changed just a few things, of course, the color and everything.
Right.
Because it was kind of a silvery gray, actually, when it was the Ford Futura. But he basically owned it. That was his design that he owned. So the reason we're seeing all of the new Batman toys now that harken back to the 60s, what I call new retro, is because of George Barris. Hot Wheels several years ago, this is before any 60s Batman toys or anything were coming out, or the DVDs were released or anything. Hot Wheels said, boy, it sure would be cool to do the 60s Batmobile. So they talked to George Barris, and he said, absolutely. So they made scans of his Batmobile that he had. And I don't know if you know, but the Futura, which became the Batmobile, sold at auction several years back for $4.5 million.
Yeah.
Iconic, huge iconic car. So he had all the scans, he had all this stuff. So they did the scan, and the little Hot Wheels that they made was an exact replica of the Ford Futura, which is absolutely beautiful. The thing sold out right away. And people are like, in the toy community, they go, wow, people want to buy stuff from the old 60s show? And that was the gateway to the floodgates opened. And then it's like, well, we got to get more Batman toys out there because these sold out. Mattel can't make these fast enough. So then Warner said, well, we got to get in touch with Adam West's representative and make sure we have all the likeness rights. And, after some back and forth, they paid, gave him a nice big check, and then the floodgates opened. But it was because of George Barris, who didn't have to get permission from Warner or from anybody else because he owned that design. Wow. Exactly. And he said, sure, I can make this deal with you directly, Mattel. And that's the whole thing. So
when the original show was being conceived, though, were the producers or the studio of the show, was their idea to do like some kind of fancy car, or was that really George that came in to, because what were they?
In the comic books, the Batmobile was cool.
Oh, it was cool. Yeah. No, they wanted to do a car, and they well, how do we do this? So they go to George Barris, who had customized cars for Elvis, and had done, in '64 he did the Munster coach, and he had done
the Monkeys
the Monkeys Mobile. Yeah. So he was kind of the go-to guy in the '60s to George, look, we want to do a Batmobile. We don't have much money. Tell us what you think. And he's like, there's this car called the Futura, had some wings on it. He's looking at the comic, going, yeah, it kind of looks like that. I bet I could. So he pulled it all together, and it's become history.
Now, can I just ask you? Now, there are a couple things to me that made the car just so wicked. One is that exhaust, the fire.
Oh yeah, the afterburner. Yeah,
and then I heard. Now, tell me if I'm wrong here. So the color, it's not just black; it's like black velvet black or something.
He did a flocked version of the Batmobile, but it was the actual show car. The Batmobile #1 was glossy black.
Really?
Yeah. What's really weird is this is the way Technicolor film worked in the 60s. You know how you've seen the Star Trek outfits in real life? It's like Kirk's is an avocado green, Spock's is a turquoise, Scotty's is like a maroon, but it photographs like Mego. It's like gold, it's royal blue, it's red. Yeah, so there was something about the way film back then interpreted colors that wasn't quite spot on. Wasn't quite there.
Representational.
Exactly. So when the film saw the Batmobile with kind of the international safety orange, piping and with the trim, it interpreted as red. So it looked like black and red. So when you'd see the car in person, it's like, well, what is the international safety orange? What is that? Right. It's black and red on the show, but that's the way the film kind of interpreted.
But it looks cooler. I love that safety orange because it really pops.
It does, yeah.
Isn't that why I heard a story about how the black car, all black, you couldn't really see the look of the car, the shape of the car. So they added that line to give it more. Have you heard that? Or
well, that's just.
Yeah.
I mean, they do that with all kinds of stuff. If you see a stage play and you wear like the Phantom of the Opera mask, it's not just a white mask. They've got to put like lines, and they've got to help the contours of it just a little bit. So they probably did it. But the flocked version was the one actually that went on tour. It was never used on the show. But Adam told me that when I met him in 1980, he said there was a Batmobile, the tour, that was fuzzy. Fuzzy, really? And now, as that I'm doing the research into the history of it, he had flocked one of the. I don't know why. It was just kind of a weird thing to do, but one of them was flocked. But he made
Velour
copies.
Was
it was really ask Captain Kirk. Well, like I said, he took the molds from the original, so now he could copy. We could do fiberglass copies, and he didn't have any more Futura bodies, obviously, because there was only one. But he found a chassis for like a Lincoln, like a '56 Lincoln or something, that had the same chassis as like the Futura. It was just similar enough to where he could kind of build it on that. So he'd buy these old Lincoln chassis, and he'd build his replica Batmobiles on those. So if you go by on Riverside to George's place now, and you see the Batmobile in the window, that's one of the copies. I think that's the number 2 or number 3, because the number 1, had been sold.
So just for listeners, you can actually his shop still exists, even though George Barris has passed away. But the place where he did a lot of the custom work, the building is still there, and they still have cars, and they have a replica that you can see inside.
Yeah, we used to live a few blocks from it.
It's like Riverside and
Lancashire,
in the Hollywood area.
Awesome.
How many replicas are there? Do you have any idea?
Well, are you asking only about the Barris authorized replicas or fan-made as well?
No.
I think he only probably did about 4. I could be wrong. I don't know. But there's all kinds of people making them now, and there's a Batmobile. Literally, there's a Batmobile in about every major city in this country because somebody has the molds, and they trade the molds to this guy. And
you know what's so weird too is like since the '60s TV show, all the different incarnations of Batman and all the reboots and all the stuff. There have been so many different Batmobiles, and some are cool, and but like. I don't know. There's something about the original that because the new ones they're made to be more realistic in a way that look like a tank.
The most recent ones are meant to be functional.
Yeah,
this is
the Christian Bale.
Like a military vehicle.
All terrain. They can go across anything.
Which makes sense.
Which makes sense.
But there's not the charm.
But the style, but you have to create a different kind of universe for that.
Because if
Batmobile to exist.
You probably wouldn't be driving around in a convertible if you're a crime fighter.
Right, exactly. It never rains or snows in Gotham. What the hell?
Yeah. But it's awesome though.
You know what I love about the fact that Barris got this whole Batmobile thing going again is that before that you could either get like a model kit maybe. And it would be an old model kit, or the Corgi car. And I wanted, and like way back when, like when we're trying to get money from our parents, there's only so many things you can have.
Yeah.
And I did want that, but those Corgi cars for my wallet, they were very expensive.
Yeah.
And
imports from the UK, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
And then you try to find them now. And before this new resurgence of the Batmobile, and they're either $1,000 or the dog chewed them.
Right. And Batman and Robin are a little bit.
So to have a good Batmobile now is incredible.
I actually brought along my 1970s Corgi Toys catalog. Which
what year?
What year? I think this is like
71.
No, I'm sorry. This is the 67 one.
Oh, that's 67.
And it has the Batmobile with the Bat boat.
Boat.
We had that on display at the Hollywood Museum when we did the Batman exhibit. Yeah, with the Bat boat. Yeah,
that's awesome.
It hooks on. There's a little knob on the back that it hooks on.
And he designed the Bat boat too, right?
No, that was designed by a different guy. His name escapes me right now. It was a glass-drawn boat, but it was already pre-existing. I don't think George had anything to do with that. And the Batgirl cycle was designed by somebody else too. But George did do the Bat cycle and the Robin sidecar. So
looking at this catalog, that was a great year for Corgi because they got Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Yellow Submarine, the Monkey Mobile, the Aston Martin from James Bond, the Batmobile, and the Bat boat.
Yeah, it wasn't just a great year for Corgi; it was just a great year.
And the whole Daktari set.
Daktari, right?
And what's funny about
the Christmas parties at Corgi?
Wow! And what's funny about this catalog, as I told the guys before, I would circle things that I wanted, and I have circled the Batmobile and the Bat boat, and it has my name printed. Harry.
In case your folks forgot what your name was when they were buying for Christmas.
Was that like a Santa thing? We were like that maybe Santa would
and, you know, that's
get the
one,
message.
That's one of many items that I wanted and circled on this particular
I did
catalog,
that with
but,
Penthouse.
Anyway, this is such a beautiful car.
Yeah, strangely enough, the Batmobile did not go fast. My first interview with Adam in 1980, I said, you know, I'm a kid. I'm 19. I'm like, well, how fast does the Batmobile go? I'm thinking it goes like 110, 120 miles an hour. He goes, oh, golly, I think one day we head up to 35.
Are you?
Because he was so good at that dry sense of humor.
Did he tell you, like, was it tough to steer, or did he?
Well,
tell
he
you
was
about-
he was nearsighted, so he with the cowl on, he really couldn't see. So Hubie Kearns, his stunt guy, would drive it a lot of the times. But Adam would like crash into stuff and
with the Batmobile.
Yeah, it was
I wish
pretty
there were
funny.
like outtakes of that.
Yeah, I wish there were. Yeah.
But
But he.
like, so only at 35, so like the Riddler's just running in front
Right,
of them.
yeah, right.
King Tut's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
right,
beating
right.
them.
Oh my
Now-
gosh!
But they have
Batman
undercranked.
has to go to driver's training.
Everything was
Traffic school.
undercranked.
So, like,
Yeah,
when you
right.
see the Batmobile pull up into the Commissioner Gordon's place and he gets out of the car, it's like a distant. Is that him or is that the stunt guy?
That's actually him. Yeah.
Okay.
Because he didn't.
I'd recognize that run anyway.
Yeah, the run. Yeah. Because Hubie, during the fight scenes, Adam's like, why did they choose Hubie? He moves like a bear. He doesn't have my grace and poise. But Hubie, he was great. But he wasn't probably, I didn't really have the Adam. But yeah, you can definitely tell that was definitely
And
the
I
Adam
love
run.
that shot because that shot is used. It's like they showed
Everyone,
it once and it's used in every.
And the same
every
people are
episode.
coming out of the building, and they all stop to look. And they all, this happens every day.
It happens every day.
Did you see the animated films that came out in 2016, 2017 called Return of the Cape Crusader? No. I was blessed enough to be able
Yeah.
to voice
Oh, yeah,
the
we
Riddler
went
in
to
that.
one of the screenings
Exactly.
of- yeah.
Well, the very first one was hilarious because they did a Fathom event.
You almost said that like Adam West.
Hilarious. Hilarious. So what they had, because they could do stuff in animation they could never do on TV.
Sure.
So the Batman flips a bitch right in the middle of the street, which is beautiful in this anime thing. So the Batmobile's like, comes around and goes, and instead of pulling him from the commissioner, it's going the opposite way, and it just flips a bitch right in the middle of the street, goes, and pulls right into the spot where from the TV show, and it was like, this is beautiful. It's great.
God bless animation.
Yeah, boy, no kidding.
That's cool.
No, I mean, so that Batmobile is really cool. I do want to say that even though some people aren't really big fans, I remember back in 1989 when the announcement was made, Tim Burton's going to be making this new Batman film, and Michael Keaton's going to be Batman. And a lot of people were upset. I remember going to a convention and thinking, Michael Keaton, why him? And Warner Brothers was so
And we were right.
Well, here's the thing. I remember the press tour, and they were showing the car. Look
The
at
car's
this
the best
car.
part.
And the car is really cool.
The car is the best part of that whole movie.
Not exactly functional, though. I mean, the thing is, what, like 30 feet long? Like, how are you going to make turns?
It's not 30 feet long.
It's long. It's longer
the
than
way it does that thing with the turn, though, he has that grappling thing or shoots
Yeah.
out.
And it climbs up a building or something, right? What movie was that in? Where it,
Oh, yeah, that was one of the later ones, I think. But the coolest thing was the shields. When he just goes shields and it closes.
Oh, yeah,
Nobody
yeah,
can-
yeah.
That was kind of cool.
No,
Look, suspension of disbelief. You have to just go along with the fact that that is a cool looking car.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with this ride.
I mean, if you recall in the subsequent other Batmans, when they had Val Kilmer and George Clooney and stuff, they tried to modify it. I like that first one though, the Michael
I
Keaton one.
love that car.
I mean, I have a little
Love that
sample
car.
of
Yeah.
the car over there.
which one was the one that had the big fin like coming up? It wasn't.
Was that Batman and
wasn't
Robin?
Two
I think
fins, but it had the
so.
big
Batman-
Yeah,
honky
there were
looking
so many
fin that
different-
was.
Yeah, I didn't care for that one. No,
Yeah,
no,
none of the others are really that memorable to me.
Well, the first Batmobile from the animated series is even longer than that Batman.
It's
movie.
40 feet, James.
I mean, it's huge.
That's a
and
little,
it's
little more retro, isn't it? Like Art
yeah.
Deco.
Yeah, and then it's animated, so you can kind of buy it in that world.
Right.
But I love that car. I'm
Yeah.
with you. I
Okay.
think that's such a great Batmobile.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
I think Sideshow Toys did some nice replicas of that.
They did.
You
They,
pay about $20,000 and get a nice.
They did, and then you get to so now we're going to a more realistic, more gritty. You got the Christian Bale, Christopher Nolan.
It's like a tank.
It is
Yeah.
a tank.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
my first feeling was, I didn't like it as much because it didn't have like a style or a flair to it. But in a way, it kind
makes sense.
It made sense. Yeah,
It makes sense, but it's not a toy you want to buy.
It's not fun.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
It's just not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't they call it the Tumbler?
Yes.
Wasn't that? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't call Batman anymore. He's the Dark Knight, and they don't call the Batmobile the Batmobile. It's now the Tumbler. It's like they kind of removed all the fun from all of it. It's not Superman. It's Man of Steel.
Robin's just, hey, you.
Yeah. Robin's that guy.
Bird Boy.
Well, back in the day, the Tumbler would have been a Batman villain.
Right.
The Tumbler.
The Tumbler. Yeah.
That's true.
He's like this gymnast who wears these too tight tights that he tumbles around, and that's all he does is somersaults. That's his superpower.
Yeah.
Now,
Makes
Wally,
people dizzy. By
Paul
looking at
Williams
him.
almost got that.
Yeah.
Wally, another vehicle that you're heavily into, in fact, that you have owned, I don't know if you still own, but the Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah, the Gran Torino.
The Gran
Yeah.
Torino.
You have a Gran Torino.
That's wicked wheels. I do. Yes.
Do you have, and it's the Gran Torino, right?
Well, it's
No.
it's
No?
not from the show. Paul
get
Glazer.
out.
Paul Glazer told me that he hated the car when he saw it because the Starsky and Hutch history is that the guy who wrote it, Bill Blinn, always had a Camaro when he was growing up. So he said, "I'm going to write this pilot called Starsky and Hutch, and they're going to drive a green Camaro because if it gets picked up, then maybe Chevy will give me a free Camaro."
Okay.
So they buy the script, and ABC's transportation deal isn't with Chevrolet, it's with Ford. So they call up Ford and they say, "Well, we got this car that these two plainclothes policemen drive around. It's supposed to be, kind of a hot rod, but just send us something." We'll send you something. So a family car called a Gran Torino shows up, and it's huge and it's long. It's nowhere near like a Camaro, and they're like, "Well, what are we going to do with this thing? It looks like it's a Sunday drive with your family kind of vehicle." And they said, "Just paint it red and put a stripe on it. It'll be fine." So they did, and it was iconic. And then Aaron Spelling said to Paul Glazer on the first day, he's like, "Hey, I've got something really exciting to show you. This is going to be really exciting." And Paul's like, "What is that?" He says, "That's your car. That's Starsky's car." And Paul said, "It looks like a striped tomato." Oh. And he said, "That's brilliant. I'm going to put that in the script." So he did, but it was Hutch saying it about Starsky's car because Starsky loved the car. He said, "Where's the striped tomato?" So there's a whole, all the Starsky and Hutch fans know what the striped tomato is now. So Paul said, "I hated that car so much. I wanted to destroy it every time I got behind the wheel." He would run it into the curb. He'd run it into stuff, and he just hated that car.
What would he have preferred?
It didn't drive well.
Camaro,
a
right?
Camaro, yeah,
He
right.
would have wanted a Camaro.
Yeah, he wanted something that looked like a sports car that a couple of hot, cops would drive. He's like, "What? This thing drives like a tank." And back then, mine drives beautifully because it's had all the work done and all that everything.
Right.
But this just came right out of the factory back then, and it was kind of hard. It was hard to drive, and
It's a 70s car.
Yeah.
The big, big.
it was a boat. Yeah. That got.
Did it have wood paneling originally?
No. It got 16.
That's the Country Squire.
That's the Country Squire.
That was for the second season.
It got 16 gallons to the mile.
Oh my!
And, 16 gallons to the mile.
Yeah.
Not miles to the gallon. Yeah. But gas was 25 cents back then, so nobody cared.
Right.
But it was just not the kind of thing that you expect it to, like rock and roll. Plainclothes. But it became the other star.
Yeah.
It was like,
Oh my gosh! That car
Michael
was
Geiser,
it.
David Sohol, Antonio Fargas, and the Torino. The Torino got mail.
No.
Yeah, they said that the Torino got almost as much mail as Paul and David.
Oh my!
This country hasn't changed. one bit.
Now,
Well, I'm not going to write to a TV show about a fucking Prius, okay? It's like, that Prius is really... No.
Good
you
point. Good
now,
point.
Wally, I seem to remember that you had the opportunity to drive around L.A. with Paul Michael Glazer in the Camaro.
We did, and
How did that come
there's a
about?
really
The
funny
Torino.
story, which since it's a podcast, I can actually
Sure.
tell.
Okay.
Back when I was Starsky, when I was 13, I had curly hair, and I tried to dress like him, walk like him, talk like him. He was everything to me. My friend Steve Hatt, who still lives in South Dakota, hey Hutch, was my Hutch, and people in school called us Starsky and Hutch. We dressed like them. We thought we were Starsky and Hutch. So we remained friends for years and years and years.
Did you like do drug busts and stuff?
In Aberdeen, the drug busts included aspirin and
Who
maybe
was the
some-
pimp?
Yeah.
There wasn't one black guy in all of South Dakota. We really had a hard time finding one, so it was terrible. But we did like high school assemblies. We'd come out and do mock fights with some of the jocks. It was a lot of fun. So Paul and David were doing this autograph show, and somebody contacted me and said, we want to do a Torino ride to where the highest bidder gets a ride with Paul and David. David in the shotgun seat, Paul driving, and they get to sit in the back. And I said, you can use my car on one condition. I get a ride of my own. And they said, fine, deal. So I'm like, awesome. So my first call is to Hutch in South Dakota. Hutch, I'm putting you on the next plane. you're coming out to LA. We're going to take a ride with Paul and David. No way. Yeah, just come on out. So he comes out, and he's got it all planned. He was thinking about this on the airplane. He goes, okay, here's what we're going to do. When you do the ride, you're going to sit behind David so you can watch Paul. I'm going to sit behind Paul so I can watch David. And I said, okay, well, that's fine by me. So every time you drive one of these Starsky and Hutch looking cars around, it's not real, it's a replica, but it's a good replica. Everybody always says, hey, Starsky and Hutch, hey, Starsky and Hutch. And I'm like, wave, honk, honk, honk. Yeah, okay, it's great. So imagine their surprise when we were driving around Venice. Steve and I are in the back. And Starsky and Hutch really are driving, and Paul still looks like Paul, and you can still pretty much tell it's David. So the people are driving around, and I'm like, I can't believe we're doing this. Steve and I were like a couple little screaming schoolgirls. It was an unbelievable day. So there was a guy who, this is maybe a visual joke, but, the usual people driving around, they see the car, they go, hey, Starsky and Hutch. and they realized it really was Starsky and Hutch. He froze.
He literally froze.
Yeah. And Paul said that used to happen all the time when they were filming the show. First season, not so much because they weren't really that popular yet.
Yeah.
But by the second season, it was tough to do those drive-around shoots to where you mount the camera on the side, on David's side, and you hit a little button in the car to start the thing. You did that. You clapped, to sync sound. There's a little sound thing between the underneath the dashboard, and they would just drive around. They'd do their scene a couple times. They'd pull the car back, and there you had it. So they're doing their scene. They go, okay, here we are, driving around, and if you pull up on a certain side, you don't see that there's a camera there. So the guy pulls up, and they go, hey, Stars, get up. So David would be like, sorry, we're filming. Could you just move on? And he's like, okay, so they tried again. Okay, here we go. Hey, Stars, get up. Sorry, we're doing a scene. You just move on. Okay, sorry. All right, here we go again. And then, hey, Stars, get Dutch. Fuck you! They just had enough of it. But
did everyone ever drive up and go, Salem's Lot?
The Apple, Starship. Yeah. No, but let's face it.
Casablanca remake.
That car is an iconic car. I mean, it was a popular TV series back in the 70s, and it's. I mean, I was trying to think of other cars like that. That's that bright red with that white stripe. It's so recognizable.
And Charles Pacerni was Paul's stunt guy. He was a great fighter and a great stunt guy and a really good stunt driver, and did some amazing things with that car.
Right.
That today you're like, wow, how did he really had absolute total control of that vehicle at all times and knew every little minute detail about how that car drove, how long it took to stop, how hard to put the gears. It was unbelievable.
I remember I still have the original Mego figures.
Oh yeah,
but I never had the car.
I was gonna say, Sean, do you have that car?
Yeah. I remember the commercial for the car. I was like,
oh yeah.
Do you still want
it? Yeah, I don't know where to put it, but sure.
Oh, that excuse. I don't know where to put it.
Larry, why don't you give me yours?
No, I'm keeping mine.
Oh, okay.
I just jumped right ahead and got the real car. So
yes.
I skipped the Mego step and went to the real.
It is funny. I remember
the way I drive. It better be the Mego one.
I remember driving around with you once to dinner, and I was in the back, and people were going, "Hey!" That was really cool. It's still even today.
It never gets old. It never gets old. And some of the kids today see the car, and they just they're used to seeing Priuses and all these boring cars today. And they'll say, wow, hot car, man, hot car, just because it's a great-looking car. They'd have no idea what the reference is or the connection to a TV show. And I always say, hey, Google a little show called Starsky and Hutch. Oh, okay. One day I was sitting at a stoplight right down by Bob's Big Boy, and I'm sitting at the stoplight, and I look, there's a dad and his young daughter over there. I'm like, hey, how's it going over there? And all of a sudden I hear, I hear the theme song, and I'm like, what? He's showing his daughter the opening of the show because they're obviously talking about it, going, that's from a show. Here, let's look it up. While they're at the stoplight, this is amazing internet, and he's showing her the opening of the first season show.
That's great.
That's good for you.
Did you ever do the Bob's Big Boy car nights?
Yeah.
I drive through, but you have to, in order to stay there, you got to get there really early, and then you got to stay there all day. And who's got the time?
On Fridays and Saturday nights on Riverside, kind of by Warner Brothers, there's this great Bob's Big Boy restaurant, and then it's still kind of done in the same style from the 50s. I mean, it hasn't been touched.
Retro,
and on Friday, Saturday nights, they have this old car night where people bring their vintage cars, and it's so cool.
Yeah,
to
you'll
go there
see
and
some of the
check-
most amazing
it's
classic
so
cars and concept cars.
Yeah, Jay Leno shows up there from time to time. And who's the guy, the puppeteer, the Jeff Dunham, who has a Batmobile? He has a couple of Batmobiles
really?
Oh,
of his own that he
Wow.
had Barris make. You know,
Wow.
he's got the 89, a replica of the 89, and he's got the 66 replica. I
Oh,
think.
that's cool.
He'll show up from time to time, and it's and sometimes it's a party. There's celebrities and stuff that show up there
cool.
from time to time. It's a good.
That's
it's a good time.
terrific. Now, I have a question. When it comes to your dream car, now you've got the Starsky and Hutch car.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Gran Torino. What around the table
Yes.
would be your dream car? And you could have it and you can drive it around. And let's just say it's street legal. They've passed a law. Anything goes.
James,
Wow, that's a good question.
I know what mine would be. But I thought you might take this one.
Really?
Yeah.
If you have an answer ready, go for it.
You know what, Matt? If I could take any car, a Wicked Wheels
Sure.
car, a car that I think is so badass and cool, it would be the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang car.
Is that
Yes.
right?
And
Wow. That's not surprising.
No. I mean, think about
I thought that would be James's.
Well, that's why I thought you might want to do.
I had to think about it.
No. I wouldn't think.
Because there's something different about watching that on screen than you driving around in the Chitty Chitty.
I would love the Chitty
I
Chitty
know
Bang
you would,
Bang.
but
You know,
James-
For one thing, it's a convertible, which is cool.
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
And it flies.
And it flies.
And it flies,
floats.
yeah.
And it's
405. I'm talking to you.
what year is that car?
Well, see, it's a combination. It's a combination of a bunch of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know? How about you?
That I got to see it because they were auctioning it at Profiles in History one year, and they
wow.
brought it by the Tonight Show to show Jay, and it was actually at NBC, and I got to walk all around and look
Wow.
at it. They only made like one. It's that one.
How,
you know?
was the
beautiful.
condition decent?
Beautiful.
Wow.
Absolutely
Wow.
beautiful. The
Well-
guy who made it was given the car and had been sitting over
Yeah.
in England for a long
for
time.
a
I
long
guess.
time, and and here's the funny story. First of all, 6 of those cars were created for the film. Yes, the 1968
Look
film.
at you.
But the funny thing is the big Primo car. So it came up for auction, and everyone thought it was going to sell for millions
I
of
know.
dollars. And it didn't. It sold for like 850,000 something, and it was such a disappointment. But he had to unload it.
Yeah.
Guess who bought it? Peter Jackson.
Really?
So Peter
Good
Jackson.
hands.
So not only does Peter Jackson have all the armatures from the classic 1933 King Kong, but he also has the goddamn Chitty Chitty Bang Bang car.
Does he have Bob Burns' Kong armor?
No, Bob Burns has that. He's not. He's going to be buried with that for God's sake.
But Peter
No,
Jackson has all the
okay.
others?
Yeah, you remember Forey Ackerman had a bunch of.
Yeah.
So
Are you
yes.
angry at him for this?
Well, no.
Yeah, did you have the
Well,
800 grand at the time?
No, but I did not.
He likes
But-
it. He loves Chitty Chitty
Yeah.
Bang Bang for
Yes,
some crazy
because
reason.
He's a
see
revered
me?
filmmaker
Yeah.
who's made lots of great movies, so
That's-
maybe he deserves it.
That's right, and I'm like a bitter, angry podcaster, so I get it. You know, why you don't want, but you see how
Like
much
there are
happiness.
any other kind.
Well, like how much happiness and joy could I bring by driving around that Chitty Chitty Bang? But you know what I would do?
You'd find
Is
some
I
way to
would-
ruin it.
No. I put like little.
You'd need 2 of them.
No, I put like a little CD player in there and play like Chitty
Oh,
Chitty Bang
you'd
Bang.
ruin,
Chitty Chitty
you'd
Bang Bang.
ruin
No.
the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang car with
well,
a CD
no,
player?
How
dare
no, I
you.
wouldn't mess up the original. Maybe what
What
I do
about
is
the
I'd have a boom
60s
I'd have
air?
I'd have a boom box in it or something.
You could put in an MP3 player. It's tiny.
box?
You wouldn't even have to mess with it.
If I had Peter Jackson's money, I'd hire frickin' Dick Van Dyke to sit in the back and sing it to me live every day.
There you go. There you go.
Actually, Dick Van Dyke, similar to Adam West, he said that driving the car was very difficult.
Imagine that.
Well, it was a big
It
big
looks
older
like
car.
it really handles.
But didn't you love that little sound it makes?
Nope. No, I didn't.
You didn't like.
We've already had this
I
conversation.
could listen to that over and over
No,
again.
if I put that Chitty Chitty Bang Bang song right near like It's a Small World of songs I never need to hear again.
right.
Which is weird, same composers.
The Sherman Brothers.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
2 for 2.
All right,
to
all right. So
answer-
shoot down my Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I just
No,
think,
no,
and
no.
it's a wicked
No,
car.
but I think that's great. I think you should have that.
That makes sense.
I should have it.
Yes. Now,
Peter Jackson, if you're listening,
I know what James is going to say.
Oh,
What?
Really?
James?
I'm gonna make a secret bet.
I would go with a different Ian Fleming invention.
I was thinking.
That would be
Yep.
the Aston Martin from
There you go. There you go.
Oh, is this the 1964 Aston? From James Bond film?
Goldfinger. Yeah.
Goldfinger.
Because I think
Classic.
between that and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, you might get more action on the street.
Sure.
I mean, if that's what you're into.
Okay. See,
Hey, they don't call the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang for nothing. That back seat came in real handy.
Hey, you want to fly?
Okay. Now, look,
Is there an ejector seat in the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
Actually, there is. Is there? There's
More
a
like
screen,
erector
yes.
seat.
Oh, so your thing is you want to get the ladies. Is that what you want?
Let's just say it's just
He
very
wants to
cool.
know he can. That's all.
Yeah, I would feel really good driving around in that thing.
Well, I tell you one
Any
thing.
male would.
Well, look, you'd be safe and secure because you'd have. Now, are we talking about the one that has all the different things? That's like
Of
little
course,
machine
of
gun.
course,
What
yeah.
does it
Yeah.
have? What does it have?
Oil
I-
slick.
Yeah,
has
it
the oil
has to
slick.
have all that.
Yeah, it's
Right.
got the thing that comes up in the back that deflects bullets.
Okay.
Right.
What else?
And what does it have?
It has the little
license plate changer.
It has
The
the,
license- yeah.
and like the Ben Hur. It doesn't have like the little things that stick out from the wheels that
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Yeah, because
shreds.
that's how he
Yeah.
does Masterson's wheels. That's how
Right.
he.
And then
Right.
so the machine guns in the front.
Of course, yeah. Oh,
Okay, now what's really cool is there were a couple really cool toys of that car that were made. There was a battery operated one that is really, really expensive if it's totally functional, and it actually has the little machine guns and stuff, but it doesn't have the little pop out guy. I think the guy
When was that made?
this is in the 60s.
In the 60s. Wow.
But the little diecast one does.
Corgi.
Corgi.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did anyone have that?
Yeah, sure. I had a replica though. I wasn't. They reissued it. I didn't
Yeah,
have the
I think
original.
that's what I have. I
have a
have
replica.
one, and it looks in too good a shape to be original.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yes,
That's a
awesome.
great car.
Oh, great car.
Okay, so you're Mr. Aston Martin.
That's
Okay.
a great choice.
Yeah.
Hey.
Now it was in more than one film.
It was, right? Four films? 5
It
films.
was in
It was in the Daniel Craig one because
Yes.
he had
Skyfall.
M
Skyfall,
sitting in there,
right.
Skyfall.
and she was
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
She's
gonna hit
bitching
the
at him, and he's
ejector
like,
button.
he's gonna hit. She says, "Don't you dare!" He's like, "Don't tempt me." That was a great moment. Yeah.
Well, and that was the moment where he drove it out that they played the James Bond theme for the first
Finally,
time in
yeah.
3 movies.
Finally,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, thank you. Throw me a bone.
right.
Oh, come on.
We won't
now.
go there.
Well, we're going to say that for our James Bond
Yes,
show.
we will.
Save that for our James Bond bitch fest.
All right. Well, Sean, do you have a car that you would?
Yeah. Well, I have two because
two.
one is a car that I still love. I don't know what the original design is. It was made specifically for the show, but I loved it because it was the epitome of cool for me. That was Ed Straker's car.
I knew you were going to say that.
what?
I knew it. I
What?
knew it.
Jerry
I
Anderson's
knew it.
UFO. Ed Straker drove around this fucking bitchin' car that had like the gull wing opening, doors, and it had that music. It was just a freaking awesome car. It's fantastic. It's just it's
wow.
futuristic, but it's not too futuristic. Like it was a real car that he drove around. So I don't know like who made
Wait,
it.
it
who
was a
designed it.
real car, Sean?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's beautiful. And that
so
paint
awesome.
job, too, that
Yeah.
kind of copper.
yeah.
What year was this?
Oh, a UFO was made like in 1970. It was
Oh, okay,
the
okay.
first live-action Jerry Anderson show.
Okay.
Right before Space 1999.
Okay.
And to me, a much cooler show than Space.
Because that looks to
1999.
me like the one that Eartha Kitt used as her cat car
Ooh.
in the third season of Batman. So
Maybe.
yeah.
I mean,
Might have been the
this is
same.
in England, but maybe 1970.
Same.
But that, and I would say that the other vehicle that to me would be the most awesome thing to drive around on would be a light cycle from Tron.
Oh, that's an interesting choice.
Still one of the coolest vehicles ever. Tron and Tron Legacy, they kind of updated him a little bit, but still kept the basic design the same. I mean, those things are awesome.
Has anybody ever made one of those?
I
like
think
life size?
I think there are existing. I don't know if they're street legal, but there are. I have seen where people have made like real full scale light cycles.
That's neat. I would love to
I mean,
see
come
that.
on, yeah.
Somebody
it's
should
pretty
make like an exercise bike that looks like that.
Yeah,
with LED technology now,
Yeah.
you could totally do
that'd
that.
be so
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have two as well. I can't decide because they're so different. The first one that I would mention would be my first love. I think it was the first thing I ever loved as a kid. And that would be the Mach 5.
Speed Racer.
Speed Racer's car. When I saw that as a kid, from that moment on, I drew pictures of the Mach 5 like all the time and kept adding my own extra things that it could do because the original Mach 5, it had treads where you could go up the side of a wall. It had these jacks that would shoot out that would make it bounce.
Yeah.
You could jump over a chasm. It could go underwater.
There's buzz saws
It
in the
had
front.
blades.
The buzz saws in the front.
The best thing.
Which my brother ruined that for me because he's a little older than me. So I'm watching this as a kid, and he's like, "Yeah, what about the stumps?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I guess you could jump over them." But just the fact that you've got these buzz saws that come out of the front of it.
Cut down a forest. Cut down the rainforest in a single motion. Yeah, that's great to teach kids.
I'm coming, rainforest.
What I loved is that he did this. It also had this jumper thing where it would go.
Yeah,
that
there were like
sound
these
effect.
jacks. that would-
hopper thing.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
jacks that would kind of like just pop out. Yeah, you could jump over a pole or.
And that show also had other weird cars and vehicles in it
Sure.
too, you know.
Racer
like,
X.
Yeah, Racer
Well,
X.
and there was the mammoth car. Which
Yeah, the weird.
That was a favorite of mine
Yeah.
because
Was that the truck?
The
like-
mammoth
like a
car, yeah, it was
train
like a
almost.
truck.
Yeah.
And there was this race that they did.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And it was all these crazy, and I have that on 16 millimeter actually.
do you?
Yeah. And it's a great episode where all these different weird cars, anybody could enter this race. And I remember there was
like
one that's
wacky
almost
races.
like a little, looks like a Jetsons car, but it's
Yeah.
on wheels. And there's this big mammoth car, and you find out later that it's actually made of gold.
Yeah.
They're trying to steal gold.
Doesn't it be a little heavy?
The thing that I loved about that particular episode was the truck. It's not just a truck or like it's like 2 lengths of truck. No, it was like several lengths of a truck.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's like the truck
like
would
the
drive.
Shinkansen.
It would drive around in a circle and surround you like
Right, right.
you know
Yeah.
like a wagon train.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of things that were happening in that race. Like, whose jurisdiction is this? Because a lot of people are going to die in this race.
yeah.
I also enjoyed in that show, there was the GRX. And I don't know if you remember the GRX, but the GRX was this car that could go faster than any car. It would go so fast that it would drive the person who was operating it insane. Like he would flip out because it just this
And
is too fast.
this was a '60s animated cartoon for kids.
yeah.
Now, so
great.
it's like these were made back. This is like 1967.
Yeah.
that Speed
Right.
Racer was made. And you know what's cool, Matt, is all those things that you mentioned, if I remember correctly, so Speed had a steering wheel and it had all of these buttons
yes,
on
yes.
on the center console of the steering wheel.
Right.
And it was like A, B, C, D, G.
Each one would activate the different feature.
Yeah, and you know what's weird is just the other day I was like moving my arm and I accidentally pressed my. How often does that? I actually pressed the center and the horn goes off. I'm like, oh sorry, you know.
right.
And then I thought to myself, what if Speed is driving and then he just moves his hand and it's like all of a sudden, the blades came out and like mows down like a bunch of people or
Exactly,
something.
right.
Or it's like
I'm constantly accidentally turning off my computer. So if I was behind the wheel of the Mach 5, yeah, it's a Death Race 2000.
Although I will say this, one of the coolest things, very futuristic. I mean, all that stuff is kind of violent, but it did have like the home. It's not a homing
it's
pigeon.
like a pin. It looked like
It looked like
It was
a
like
pigeon.
a drone, though.
Yeah, like a drone.
It was a drone and it had a camera.
Yeah.
so you could
Cool.
see what was going on
And
in
you
the
could
head.
press.
And
Do you
that's
remember this, Wally?
Really good for a race.
barely.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, and you could press the button, and out the little robot bird would go out.
Yeah.
You know, and it would look around, or it would send messages.
That's
and
right.
I thought
Or
that
get
was
help.
the coolest thing.
Which actually, the new Blade Runner movie had that. Remember in the spinner, he activated that little drone that came out of the top and then took surveillance and video.
Oh, so
came
that they
back.
ripped off Speed Racer. I
guess
see.
so,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
But at
okay.
least if Speed did accidentally hit the blades as he was doing something else, and he did cut a bunch of people in half, he'd have the jacks to like leap over the dead body parts littering the streets. So he's got that going for him.
He could leap over the border into Mexico.
Right, yeah.
No, but Matt, I'm with you though. But I saw this as a kid, you know, and the colors
Just captured my imagination.
And what's cool, the Mach 5, it's a beautiful white car, and it's similar to classic Batmobile. It has
It is a little bit. In
it
the
has.
general
It's not
design.
really fins. It's more like kind of bubble missiles on either side, kind of a thing.
And
with
I
the
would-
giant M painted on it.
And I would not want a car now that I bought off the showroom floor to be white. I'm not really into a white
Right.
car.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
But
that
that's
it
somehow
works.
it works.
That somehow it works.
Yeah.
And let's face it must have been pretty comfortable to ride in the trunk because Spritle and Chim Chim would always, you know,
Yeah.
hey, let's go in the
They
trunk.
had a death wish, so I don't think it mattered at all. Yeah, both of those. The chimp didn't know what was happening. It was just like-
Nobody said DeLorean? Nobody said
well, that's
time machine?
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah,
No, I got to tell you my
hey,
other one. I have to tell you my other
Hey,
one.
yeah.
we're not done with the show, buddy. I have a list. I have a list.
This is my other one which I think would be slightly more badass, the Interceptor from Mad Max.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's a popular car. A lot
And
of people
that's a
have
car-
replicas of that car. Yeah.
I wish someone made a really, really good, they probably do, but I can't afford it.
Right.
But a really nice replica of that.
Yeah.
That, with some figures that you could put in. I know they did Road Warrior figures that were
Right.
okay,
Yeah,
but
they weren't great.
they weren't great.
So we're talking about Mad Max. This is from like 1980, directed by George Miller, with starring Mel Gibson.
And they did a number of sequels.
It's a special kind of car. I forget the type of car. I mean, we say the Interceptor because that's what it was called in the movie. It is a souped up,
Customized.
Ford Falcon V8 Interceptor.
1973 Ford Falcon XB GT hardtop.
but it looks so bad.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that the Mad Max films opened up a whole like subgenre really of like all the other the Italian copycats of Mad Max films and like, but just the whole idea of like like a kind of post-apocalyptic scenario where people are taking cars and like
Using them as
customizing
weapons.
and making as. I mean, you had Death Race 2000, which is a much more pulp comic book approach.
The
to it.
Frankenstein car is amazing.
Frankenstein car is amazing, yeah. All the cars are really cool in that, but Mad Max is a little bit more down and dirty, and it was.
It looks formidable.
Yeah. And but you could believe that somebody could actually make these and go after you and try to kill you with them.
My folks just had their 60th wedding anniversary, and we were looking at a bunch of old photos. And I said, "What car is that?" My dad said, "It's Ford Falcon, worst car I ever owned." So, but it worked for Mad Max, Dad.
Yeah, really.
Now the
Well, I'm sure they did some work on it.
And also, if I remember correctly, Max's, they had a very special, powerful motor, and it had the special fan belt on it.
Right.
That it was like it would go extra fast, like it would go
Yeah,
to
you
11 or something.
Yeah, you
know,
could click it into turbo. And,
Yeah.
Right.
You'd get a little bit of extra speed for a short period of time.
Now, the film that you're talking about is Mad Max. In the Road Warrior, he modifies
Well,
it because
the Road Warrior is really the car that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if I'm not mistaken, the one that's in Mad Max, it has a little more color.
it's police car like.
Yeah.
But once
right.
you get to the post-apocalyptic world, the car is more like a black, and it has these giant tanks in the back, and which I think are so cool. It's like, I need as much gasoline as I possibly can so I can go across the wastelands.
They brought it back in Fury Road, right?
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now, Road Warrior, that's 1982. Now you're jumping forward to Mad Max Fury Road,
Yeah.
which is that's
Skip right over
2000.
Thunderdome.
Do you know, is it
15.
exactly the same car?
Probably not.
No. I mean, not the same
the
car.
actual car.
The actual car, but I mean the same.
I think
Pretty
so.
much design?
I think so because it was like a plot point that he was really pissed off that it had gotten stolen from him.
Oh, okay.
Right,
okay.
right.
Yeah. God, I love the way that thing looks. It's like another character in that film.
Yeah, totally. Well, if we're talking wicked wheels, though, not just wicked as in cool, but wicked as in evil.
Oh yeah.
Lots of those. Although this really, I guess technically, it's the driver of the vehicle that's evil, but he uses the vehicle to terrorize, and that's Steven Spielberg's Duel.
Right.
1971. It's a truck, but it's a mysterious driver who we never see. We never know what his motivations are, which makes him all the more scary. Right?
Yeah,
Because it's
terrifying.
And it's
Yeah.
Dennis Weaver, pursued by this truck on the open road.
And that there's really no reason for
no
it.
reason. That's why it's terrifying. Yeah.
I remember seeing this on television and being completely scared.
Yeah.
Because it was like, first of all, you're not really sure who is this person that's driving to it. What did I do? It's like you can't just, okay, you know what? I'm just going to pull on the side of the road, let the truck go ahead of me. That doesn't work.
Right,
It's like a constant terrorizing on the road. How scary is that?
That set everything up perfectly for Jaws. Yeah, because it basically was Jaws
Yes.
on the road.
Yeah,
Use the
yeah.
same techniques and the same principles. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's that scene, though, where they stop at the truck stop.
yes.
And Dennis Weaver has been terrorized by this truck for a good, half hour into the film. And he sees the truck parked and he goes into the diner.
But he doesn't know who.
He doesn't know who the driver is.
Right.
And he just starts yelling at everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing, but knock it off.
Wait, doesn't he's
There's a couple people I think that he thinks are the person,
I thought
right?
I thought what happened was he leans down and he sees these feet that are wearing boots, metal tip boots, and he goes, "Aha,
Yes,
this
that's
person's
right.
walking."
Yes, you're
and
right.
then he gets into the diner and all these drivers have metal
yeah,
tip
you
boots
can't tell.
on.
Oh,
and
that's
they're like,
right. Yeah,
oh,
that's
great,
right. Yes.
great.
Yeah,
It could be
yeah.
any one of these clowns.
Instead of yelling like an insane man in a restaurant with all these
Yeah.
people, I'd have gotten a really sharp knife and I'd have gone out there.
Right.
Oh yeah,
and
right.
let the hair out of
That's
his
true.
tires like, terrorize me now, motherfucker.
really?
Yeah,
And then he does.
Yeah. Okay, so
that's
you
a
think
great
that's smart, huh? Okay, Mr. Wally. Okay. So it's like you poked his holes and you go, ha ha ha. And you get in your car, you drive, and now you drive maybe a couple hours. Oh, now I'm gonna go stay at a motel, and you'll pull over motel. Then that truck will show up, and it'll like just plow
he's
down.
really
yeah,
mad.
With flat tires? With flat tires?
No, the
he
tires
fixes
would
them.
change.
Yeah.
You know,
18 of them?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Wasn't it a big rig?
Maybe a triple A.
Triple A will come out. It might take a while.
Big AAA truck with 18
Yeah.
spare tires in
Yeah.
the back.
Right. It's like the evil AAA.
Yeah.
Sean, that is a great
Triple
evil.
evil.
That's a great one.
Yeah, but if you're talking about Jaws with a car, the other one that comes up, of course, and this is a favorite of mine, 1977, The Car.
The car.
I just saw that again recently because it was on Svengoolie.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And I have a new appreciation for that
I
movie.
love that
Now,
movie. I have a die-cast replica of the
It's
car.
so
beautiful.
beautiful.
Now,
God,
Sean,
I wish
for
I
our
had
listeners, could you tell them what the car
Yeah,
is
with the
about?
car, it's like this kind of desert town, and basically just out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere, just out of the horizon on the plane, you just suddenly see this plume of smoke, of dust from the road, and it's this black car. Who's driving it, where it came from, and it just starts killing people.
But the style of the car, it's very unique.
Yeah, well, I looked at it's actually George Barris designed it too.
No.
And, it was a 1971 Lincoln Continental Mark III black coupe, and it was kind of just designed to look really very kind of sleek and very like basic. The roof was lowered several inches.
I was
make
going to
it look
say, it
even
had-
like meaner.
That's what
Yeah.
does it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it has in the movie it has this signature honk, which is dun, 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 dun. It's a great movie. Though it literally is Jaws with a car. James Brolin, John Marley, Ronnie Cox, Kathleen Lloyd, Kim and Kyle Richards. Great cast and just a very kind of lean, mean drive-in horror film. And you don't. So many movies now they have to explain away everything. They have to you find out the revealing backstory of what. No, it's just a fucking evil car.
Yeah.
And they have to battle it.
I think it's better than Christine.
Yeah, which is a.
I
I
like Christine.
like Christine.
I like
Christine.
Christine.
But
As a
Extra-
movie, yeah.
Yeah, but
As a movie.
The
As a
novel,
movie.
the novel Christine is a lot of fun.
The
Okay.
novel is
Yeah.
great, but as a movie,
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think it just
It's genuinely
scarier
scary.
car,
It's
for
actually
one.
scary. There's even a scene that they do very novel things with it. Like there's a scene where James Brolin he just casually walks out of his house into his garage, and you hear this. He turns around, the fucking car's
And
right
it's just there.
It's just
Yeah.
just, like idling.
yeah.
And just stuff like that.
The car is calling from inside the house.
It's really well done. Yeah, because I think Christine is fun, but it's kind of silly to me. Like it's not a
Yeah,
scary movie.
yeah.
It's very technically well done. But
Yeah,
but
I think
the
it's
car,
silly.
It's very surface. It's
Yeah.
not a lot of depth to it.
No, you're right.
But the
Yeah.
car does what it sets out to achieve.
There's some really memorable moments, like James Brolin's girlfriend,
Yeah, Kathleen Lloyd.
who in the previous scene, she's caught by the car, and they take refuge in this graveyard.
Yeah.
And it's hallowed ground,
Yeah, so it can't go in,
So the
yeah.
car can't go in. But Kathleen Lloyd just starts berating this car,
Yeah.
just insulting it and saying
Yeah.
all these things. And finally, the car takes off. But the car is obviously mad and holding a grudge. So she's at home. She's
Yeah.
at home.
In her living room.
And she's talking to James Brolin on the phone. And spoiler alert, she hears the engine.
Honey, I think I
I
hear the engine. I
yeah,
swear.
I'm so freaked out. It's like I can still hear it. And then,
Dun, dun, dun.
yeah, and then you see the lights and the thing.
She has like these bay windows.
yeah, and it just comes right through the window and just like right through the house and just takes her out.
Yeah. It's
Spoiler
really
alert.
effective.
And the other thing that's scary about it too is, we had talked about what makes the alien in the Alien movie so scary, where you can't see its eyes. In the car, you can't see through the windshield. It's
completely black.
and it's
Yeah.
like normally it's like you try to identify what this thing is, and you
Right.
can't see through it, and
Right.
that's kind of a scary thing. It's a complete unknown.
That's a really good comparison. Yeah, the fact that all the windows they're not entirely blacked out. There's like this
It's like
weird.
It's a color.
It's a tint.
It's a
It's like some-
tint.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yes, it's
really
like a yellowish,
like a blood
dark.
orange tint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes it so much scarier. Wow.
Now, I just want to say for Christine, because you had thrown it out there, I just want to say, so the Christine car is a 1954 Plymouth Fury.
58.
58, possessed by hell.
And Christine was named after George Romero's wife, Christine Forrest, because King.
Interesting.
Well, yeah.
What does that say about her?
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, King had just worked with Romero on Creep Show, and that's also why Christine is set in Pennsylvania, not Maine, which a lot of King's novels usually are.
Okay.
Because he had been spending some time there, and I think it might have been dedicated to Romero too. But yeah, that's why Christine is called Christine.
So now, what would you say are the main differences between the novel and the movie? Like, in what way is the novel more fun?
Sometimes the best of King is that he can make the unbelievable believable. That he gets you into this, like, mundane, everyday living where people, it's not a fantastic world. People go to supermarkets, they go to McDonald's, and then after reading about them, you become more invested in them as real people, not fantasy figures. So by the time something fantastic happens, it's that much more believable because you're already in that world.
Yeah. And a lot of people complain that it takes so long to get to the supernatural elements in some King books because he does so much character building. But I get it. Ultimately, it pays off.
In many of his books, in his better books.
In his better books, yes. Yeah.
And Christine, I think, is one of them. I loved it when I read it when it first came out.
And you're right. That's why it doesn't really work as a movie, because you've got Arnie in the beginning, and he's just kind of a misfit. Yeah. You don't really get, you need to kind of get into his head to understand, his torment of being bullied.
Yeah, in a way, he's kind of a, I don't want to say stereotypical nerd, but almost too, like, the extreme.
Yeah.
In the movie.
And look, we've talked about this. I do like the movie. It spoke to me. But I understand. It's like the bully is this gross exaggeration of the bully.
Which
everybody's an archetype.
Yeah, I would agree.
Stephen King movies suffer with that, though, I think.
But still, the car looks great.
The car's great.
The one issue I had, and I brought this up on another show. It's just I remember the preview, and I remember in the movie theater I was watching the preview, and it's all black, and you see just this hint silhouette of like a shape, and you hear this voice say, "It's sleek. It's sexy," and then you think, "Oh, is this a woman or whatever?" And then you hear, "It's a 1958 Plymouth Fury possessed by hell." And the audience that I was there with laughed at that line. And then they showed the car, and I thought to myself, oh my God, that just messed it up. I understand what they're trying to do, trying to make it sexy.
But that's the trailer's fault.
Yeah, well, but still.
Because watching the movie, it didn't come off.
No, it's
like
weird,
that.
because this is John Carpenter. John Carpenter, who brought us such classics as Halloween, Escape from New York, and The Thing. And maybe this one it's not necessarily a home run, but I did like it.
It's not like,
I like it too.
It's not like realistic and set in reality, like, say, Killdozer.
I'm so happy you brought that up.
Now, Wally, why don't you get a Christine car? I could see you driving out there. Hey, I'm cool guy.
I don't want to get eaten by it.
Right.
How about we do like we make it half and half, like Chitty Bang Christine.
No. You keep that car separate, okay?
Christine Bang Bang. That was my prom date. Strange, yeah.
But now, Sean, Killdozer.
Yeah, Killdozer, 1974 ABC TV movie based on a Theodore Sturgeon short story. And a ridiculous premise, but somehow it works. It's
and that does actually work in the film.
Yeah. It's
as a film.
It's like some kind of isolated island where they're doing some kind of construction. So there's just a small group of construction workers, and they're having to dig out some hill or something, and they come upon some kind of really hard rock in the dirt that doesn't look like anything. And what it is, it's kind of like they figure it's like a meteorite.
Right.
So it's from outer space, and the thing glows and has some kind of like intelligence or presence in it. And it transports into the bulldozer.
Sure, yeah, of course.
And so the bulldozer is on its own, driving around and terrorizing these guys on the island, and it's good though.
Considering that a bulldozer moves kind of slow,
yeah,
it is pretty effective.
It's pretty good, yeah,
in the way that they portray the horrific events.
Yeah, and you got a great '70s cast: Clint Walker, Neville Brand, Robert Urich. There's also apparently a rock band called Killdozer.
I should know them.
Yeah, which we should check out. But yeah, no, Killdozer is kind of like this quintessential like '70s TV movie. But it's a good. I mean, I don't know of any other killer
bulldozer
movies. So yeah.
Once you've made Killdozer,
You know, I was probably like 8 when it came out on TV, and I was mesmerized.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wow,
it's
this
good.
Is the
It's
coolest
good.
thing I've ever
It's
seen.
pretty well done. Yeah.
yeah, I was surprised because I watched that not too long ago as well,
Right.
and it holds up.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Marvel Comics did an adaptation too. It's
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Look it up. I think it's there. Yeah.
That's cool.
Spider-Man versus.
That was the team
Right.
up.
Okay, so you've done some horror ones, some
Right.
scary ones. Well, how about a happy one? Another happy one.
Wally.
You guys are, yeah, Wally.
got one?
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have to be happy, but if you have one,
I go back to the DeLorean. That is such a cool.
That's a happy one.
Really.
Yeah.
Really?
We're
And,
talking about Back to the Future.
Yes, well, I did a session for TED 2, and Seth MacFarlane was there. I worked on a bunch of Family Guy stuff, and I said, hey, how's the DeLorean running? Because he bought one. He bought a time machine. Yeah, there's guys who make them. I'm involved with a group called Star Cars. This guy named Nate Truman, who has a lot of these replica cars, and they do a bunch of charity events and everything. And so
Cool.
they have just about everything from the Jaguar to the Jurassic Park vehicles to the Maxwell Smart Sunbeam. There's a gal in the group that has one of those. So they do all sorts of so they do parades and all kinds of stuff. It's all charity stuff. But so there's guys who have all kinds of vehicles from the Star Cars. That's what they do. But on my 50th birthday, Nate and his buddies brought a bunch of those. Were any of you guys
Yes,
there at the
yes,
bowling
I was
alley?
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you see
Yeah.
all the cars that were
Yeah,
lined
it
up?
was
Yeah,
amazing.
it was really great. But I thought the DeLorean just really looks cool. And Seth, being a child of the '80s, bought one of these DeLoreans, and I'm like, hey, how's the DeLorean running? Want to race my Torino? And he's like, it's still in my warehouse. He never takes it out. He just bought it, and it just sits apparently in his warehouse. He never drives it, but it's just sitting there. I'm like, what a waste.
And that
'Cause-
was, do you know the history behind why they chose the DeLorean?
My-
I know the whole irony of how that car then.
it took a while for them to decide to make it even a car, right?
Yeah.
Originally, it was just some sort of device in a room.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and then there was another thing about it's a refrigerator.
Oh, it's a refrigerator, right?
But if I understand correctly, it was Robert Zemeckis who wanted to do this time travel thing. He didn't like the idea of look, if I do this thing about the refrigerator and it has a special power or whatever, then it's like kids might be locking themselves in refrigerators. So then they came up.
And they will.
It's better to do a car. One, I thought they were thinking about either it was going to be a Mustang or a Chevy or something. But the look of the DeLorean, it looked like a spaceship.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
looked
Yeah,
it lends
futuristic.
itself to
And besides, you open up the fridge and Indiana Jones comes out.
No, and I stand by it. I think they made the right decision because
Yeah.
look, I know you guys have bagged, Back to the Future. I'm a fan. I loved all three of those
a
films.
lot of fans.
I love-
A lot of fans.
And I love the vehicle getting up to 85 miles an hour.
88.
88 miles an hour.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong
Okay,
again.
I've been drinking, okay? Come on, cut me some slack. What the hell am I doing on this show? Oh. 88 miles an hour. You got to get 88 miles an hour, and that'll take you into, whether it's the future or the past or whatever. And I love that vehicle.
Definitely became a classic kind of iconic vehicle.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it really
well, when we consider the DeLorean, what happened to him, and
so
how
for-
he
if for peop-
unceremoniously creeped into oblivion with
you
his the drug
say
thing and everything.
creeped.
It's like,
Well, and look, let's
creeped.
give it the facts. The facts now for people who don't know. So the DeLorean, who was actually a design,
John DeLorean,
yeah, John DeLorean, a very successful car designer, left the car company that he was working for to design his own car. And he was going to make it out of Ireland, I think it was, right?
Powered entirely by cocaine.
No. See, this
Mr.
is-
Fusion,
Okay,
sure.
Okay, this is where rumors get started.
Why are
Okay,
you
I want to
sticking
be
up for John DeLorean?
Listen, guys. Listen. Maybe you have a successful company or a company that's not doing well. It's like, oh man, I got to get some money here. What's this
How
drug
did this suddenly
thing?
turn on to Sean?
I'm just saying.
Sean's responsible for John DeLorean's fall?
Look. I'm just saying that John DeLorean he dabbled in something that he shouldn't have dabbled in, and,
Yes.
and he was trying
it's
to.
called crime.
Yeah,
drugs are bad.
No, yes, you're right, Sean. They are. He was desperate to try to keep this company alive, and he got into something which he shouldn't have, and he regretted it.
Okay,
but it's
great.
like,
Fine.
Yeah, so-
but there's this.
I still like the car.
Yeah.
But and the car would not rust because of the type of metal it was made out of.
Ooh, really?
Yeah,
Future metal.
Yeah, stainless steel.
Stainless steel. But it's like you couldn't paint the car though.
No, they were
Yeah.
all silver.
Yeah, they're all silver.
But that was what was so great about using the DeLorean for the time machine was that Doc Brown specifically says, and its stainless steel body made it the only logical choice for this because it's going to endure friction or less intense heat, and it's like,
Yes.
that makes
See,
sense.
I like
Yes.
that.
But your refrigerator, your average refrigerator, probably could not.
No.
And the idea that it's a car that once you get to a place, you might need to get around.
Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
that's a good idea.
And look, as
Yeah.
much as you guys want to bag on it, I want to let you know it was a very successful series, and it made a great ride at Universal Studios for years.
Oh, yeah.
I
There was
enjoyed the ride.
There was a simulator ride.
Once
where-
again, I enjoyed the ride more than I did the movies.
okay, all right. well,
That ride almost killed me.
Did it?
I really did. Yeah.
Really?
I did the ride a couple of times. Second time I did, though, I made the mistake of being in the back.
I was in the
Oh,
back.
bad idea.
That kills your neck.
bad
No,
idea.
Wow,
I'm
you
the
front, it was
old
fine.
ladies.
Yeah, I told. Yeah.
I'm prone to motion
The Back to the
sickness.
Future ride hurt me.
I cannot go on.
I hate the
I can't
future.
go on
Mr.
Star
Toad's
Tours.
Wild Ride.
Wait. I want to hear.
Can't take it.
I want to hear how.
Talk about wicked wheels.
Listen, I want to hear how this almost killed James. James.
Yeah.
It's a motion sickness thing. I can't go on Star Tours either. I get
really?
sick for
God.
hours after that stuff.
Wow.
If you're jerking back and forth but not actually going anywhere, it kills me. I broke into it. I was drenched with sweat. After the first 30 seconds of the Back to the Future ride, I cringed. I ducked into the back seat with my eyes shut tight. Couldn't wait for it to be over. Walked out drenched. And
So you just like the Winnie the Pooh ride is for you, and like
no, I like it when you're actually moving forward, like Space Mountain and
So
stuff like that.
you could do
simulation as
I
opposed to
cannot
like
do
an
so you can do
actual-
that. You can do that. You like Space
Like a
Mountain.
roller coaster
Yes,
you can do.
if
So
you're
all that
actually
works.
moving, yes, but
Right.
like the Harry Potter ride, I can't do that. Most of the rides now coming out are motion simulator.
No. I will.
So
say
then the
this,
Tower of Terror you must hate, right?
That's a straight drop.
But that doesn't freak you out?
Not as much as motion simulation.
Now the Harry Potter ride is not all simulated. You know, it's
As
a
long as there's
combination.
some, I can't take that risk. And you know, I read that on
You
the back
might like it.
I read that on the Back to the Future ride, a kid died from a brain embolism.
What?
Yeah, it happened.
Had nothing to do with the ride.
Well,
Oh, man.
Well,
look,
thank-
I'm not saying that.
I don't know.
necessarily-
thanks for bringing us down there, buddy.
Yeah, no, we're great.
You know what? Actually, I read that there's a car now that they're coming out with that runs on vegetable juice. It's got a V8 engine.
Oh, he's back. He's back. Look, design-wise, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool car.
And they made a bunch of different toys, and I actually brought a model of the Back to the Future ride behind Wally there. That is still in its box. That has not been put together.
Great.
Okay, all right. Wow. Yay.
And it came with a free poster, by the way.
Are you looking at us like we're supposed to start building it now?
Yeah.
You're
No.
Trying to robust it in
Yeah.
this little test?
Well, of course,
have
it's
rolled
it's the
in the
third
garage.
one, but the third movie, which is not really. I mean, you don't like it as much as I do, but it came with a free
roads.
poster. Yeah.
Where we're going, we don't need roads. Yeah, what a great. That's so fun.
Now, so you talked about the DeLorean. How about this? Do you remember a fun like a doom buggy? Do you guys remember Wonderbug?
Oh, yeah.
Wonderbug.
Yeah.
Saturday morning?
Yeah, it's from like between 1976 and 1978. It was
Sid and Marty Krofft.
Sid and Marty Krofft. Now the weird thing is, I love the little theme song where they just said Wonderbug, doo-doo-doo-doo. And think about it, it's this old doom buggy that's kind of all beat up, and these teenagers.
They call it the Schlepp car.
Yeah, the Schlepp car. And they find it, and magically the car turns itself into like this super flying car or whatever, where they help solve crimes and stop people doing bad things or whatever. But what's neat about it is the voice. I think I wanted to find out if you knew the voiceover guy, Franklin Wendor Welker.
Oh, Frank Welker?
Welker.
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
He did the
Frank's-
voice for Wonderbug.
Frank's the greatest living
And
voice
he-
actor
he did
in the world. Yeah.
He did like Scooby-Doo
Yeah.
and
He's everybody. He's Megatron. He's everybody.
yeah, it's from-
He was Garfield, and I was John on the Garfield show. So, funny story. You're talking about cars and the Transformers. That whole thing.
Yeah.
My friend Dr. Lou George in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, is a huge Transformer fan, and he wanted me to have Frank sign some stuff for him because he's a huge Megatron fan specifically. And I said, well, Frank's going to be appearing at Las Vegas Toy Con. Why don't you fly in, and I'll fly in, and I'll meet you there, and I'll introduce you to Frank. He was like a little kid. Now, this is an oral surgeon that sometimes has to spend 6 to 8 hours in trauma stitching people's faces back together when they hit barbed wire or something, and they
Right.
look like the Joker.
Yeah.
And he's got to do all that work, so it's very, very stressful stuff. But here he is. He's standing next to Peter Cullen, who is the voice of Optimus Prime, and Frank Welker. And I told Frank, I said, hey, my friend is an oral surgeon. He does a lot of good stuff. He's very much into children's charities. A really good guy. So he's going to fly in. So Frank was very nice to him. They got a bunch of pictures, and he signed all of his stuff. And so Doc had sent a few things to have Frank sign. This is before they announced that they were going to be at the show. And it took Frank a while to get into his agent's office to sign them. But after the show, he knew the doc and everything. So he goes to his agent's office, and he still signs the stuff, even though he had already sent a bunch of stuff from the thing. So Frank is such a great guy. When he sent the package to Dr. George, he also included a few little extra signed things just to be a nice guy. He's a terrific guy.
Well, he did a great job on the voice. And what's funny...
Was it only noises, or was there an actual
Yeah,
voice?
he was
gibberish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of like gibberish.
That's exactly
And the
what
weird
he's
thing is, the
genius at.
car was a combination of a bunch of things. There was an actual car, like a Doom bug, but
sure.
also it was like there was a puppet car that had like the rim kind of looked like a mouth, and it had like little
And the headlights
eyes.
were the
headlights
eyes.
were the eyes and stuff like that.
Well, I
And-
think it was Mel Blanc that did Speed Buggy.
I was
Yeah,
going to say,
that's-
because Speed Buggy, it's so weird because Speed Buggy was 1973,
Yeah.
and Wonder Bug was 76.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost the same thing.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
Well,
perhaps
and then
one-
there was Herbie.
Yeah.
Well, the love bug. Oh,
Right. That's classic.
68 it started? The first Love Bug movie?
and
I had the love bug once, and
yeah,
I got some
68.
antibiotics and got rid of it.
now for
Keep 'em coming.
Now for listeners, now for listeners that
So to speak.
for listeners that don't know, so the love bug was like it's a Volkswagen bug.
Yeah.
It was like all white. And it was
Like a racing stripe
well,
on it,
Yeah,
'cause it
and,
was-
and it seemed ridiculous to have this little Volkswagen bug in a race with all these race cars.
They could fly and leap and jump. And
Well, yeah.
Now, who rode their bike through town humming that theme song?
Yeah.
I did.
I totally
and I
rode my
love
bike,
Buddy
yeah.
Hackett. Buddy
yeah.
Hackett, who's the guy who kind of put the bug together and would weld it and stuff.
So he was like the Dr. Frankenstein
Yeah,
of
yeah.
cars.
Well,
How did he put sentience into this thing?
I don't know, but I will say that it's funny you should say that.
Love.
One of
love.
My understanding is one of the ideas for this came about how at a car dealership. I guess I'm not sure if it was the writer or the producer. They went to this car dealership and people would walk past all these cars, and then there was this white Volkswagen Bug. And when people would walk by it, they would look at it and they would pat it. Like it was a pet. And he thought, oh, that is so cute, And I think that was one of the main ideas behind where the love bug came from. It's such a
Well, it
cute,
does have
happy
kind of
little
an
car.
anthropomorphic
Yeah.
feel to
yeah.
it.
Bob
that
Hope
car.
always said that Volkswagens were Hitler's revenge.
And there was a whole
True.
franchise. I mean, you had the Love Bug, then you had Herbie Rides Again.
Yeah.
Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
Herbie Goes Bananas.
Yeah.
It goes bananas.
And that's when he finally has had enough. And it's just a murder spree.
And there was a great die-cast metal toy, and there was a sequence when Herbie gets he kind of breaks apart, and the die-cast metal toy, there was a button that would make the two little pieces come apart.
Oh, that's cool.
It was
I
really,
like that.
really
It's like
cool.
Smash Up Derby.
No,
I like the Herbie movie that was never made. Herbie Goes on Strike.
Herbie gets married, has a couple little Herbies.
now
And then finally he's in a Lindsay Lohan movie, and then his career is over.
That's
Yeah,
done.
they can never
Yeah.
get it. Yeah.
speaking of
Where's
Lindsay Lohan,
Herbie
Herbie
now?
jumps the shark.
Lindsay Lohan she's a model, actress model.
Yes, we've heard of Lindsay Lohan.
Well, speaking about wicked wheels, how about the Aurora Monster Model kits?
Yes.
Oh, the models
This is
on
back
my
in
list.
1965. Aurora Monster Models. They did the monster models, but then they did a series of monsters on wheels.
Yeah.
There was the Frankenstein Fliver, which was a Frankenstein
Fliver?
Fliver with Frankenstein.
The Frankenstein
He was in like a
Fliver?
dragster, and then Dracula's dragster.
Was Big Daddy Roth involved in the design of these at all? The guys that would do
don't
this?
It's
think
very
so.
reminiscent.
I
yes.
think it was riding the popularity of that stuff.
Yeah. I can't believe we didn't bring up the Munster coach.
Well,
That's-
it's coming.
How fucking long is this show anyway?
Just look, really. Okay, look. Hey, let me do these models, then you can do that. Okay.
Hey, look, we're going through everything.
Okay.
Chaplin's Model T, everything.
Dracula's dragster, Wolfman.
We're
wagon,
starting at
the
Henry Ford and going all the way to the
no,
Prius.
Mummy's Chariot, but then in
You in the
'66.
Prius.
Okay,
right.
all right,
hate
all right.
Prius.
Yes.
Nothing wicked about the Prius.
All right. Yes.
Anyway,
let's
so
talk about
that's,
the Prius.
Except the
I just have
drivers
two
who
more.
think they own the road.
Okay,
Godzilla's
yes.
gas guzzler.
No,
what is it?
no, it's Godzilla's go-kart.
Go-kart.
Okay, and what's cool is Godzilla's kind of crunching this go-kart. He has like a little helmet
I
on.
like that Godzilla design because it's kind of the design of the Aurora.
Well, they all
Godzilla
are,
model,
aren't
They
right?
all are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you have
What,
these?
you just,
No, I never-
did
they were
you
too
just
silly for
figure
me.
out
Oh,
that
they were
they're-
too silly for you.
I wanted
Oh,
the actual monsters.
Oh,
not
I
not-
see.
You know
Okay.
what? That's interesting that you say that, Sean, because normally you're the guy, Larry,
Yeah, I'm surprised.
who does not like the monsters to be
Since when can
treated
Godzilla
with
ride a
laughter.
vehicle?
And
Well, let me
fun.
just say that mine are meant in sealed packages. Okay, so I have-
What does that
and the
have to do
last
with
one,
the concept?
the last
What's
one
the
is
last one?
The last one is the King Kong Thronester, and he's got like a little crown. He's got a little crown. Okay.
The human Senta pedal pusher.
Okay, that's great. All right.
What was your favorite of all of them?
The Godzilla go-kart.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool looking.
While we're on the subject of Godzilla, right now we have sitting in front of us Godzilla on a tricycle.
Oh yes,
Which is
Yeah.
wind up.
Yet another lovingly non-mocking
Yeah.
right.
toy.
And what's cool about this particular toy is this came in 3 different colors, okay? The tricycle came in yellow, red, and the rare one, green. And the cool thing is the Godzillas were slightly different colors. The green one's the rarest, and the Godzillas glow in the dark. And I have all 3.
But Godzilla didn't ride a
Yeah,
tricycle.
in what movie does he ride a tricycle?
That would have to be a huge tricycle.
Why are you mocking Godzilla?
Yeah.
Why do you
thought you
hate
liked
Godzilla?
Godzilla.
I love
I
Godzilla.
thought you take Godzilla seriously.
And look, he rides a tricycle. He has his little bell.
So not only is he riding a tricycle,
Okay.
but there's a little multicolored bell in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like he's selling ice cream.
It's got all the pinwheels on the wheel.
Okay, now
Yeah.
let me look.
Why do you hate Godzilla?
Okay, listen. I'm gonna come clean here. Okay.
Okay.
One of the reasons why I love this tricycle so much is I had a red tricycle that was just like this one,
But
And
that
it-
one's green.
Well, because I had to get the set.
You're just
red,
making
green.
this up as you go along.
No, I'm not. It's like it's a set.
I can't even keep track of your web of lies.
Look, Matt, I had the red tricycle. It had a bell on it. You know that did this. In fact, it's another story. But I had a tricycle just like this, and it was red. And when I saw my favorite monster on a tricycle, I said, "Oh my gosh, that's like Godzilla was my buddy, and he and I could be riding tricycles together when I was kids." So that's why I have it.
In all,
So don't.
in all seriousness, we all love these toys.
Yes,
no,
no,
no. I mean,
we all
I have a.
these.
We all have.
We have
them.
the Matango one.
They're
They actually made a Matango one and, of course, an Ultraman one.
yeah.
Right.
And an Ultra 7.
And Ultra 7, yes.
right.
And what's great about them is that they are ridiculous. I'm just
yeah.
surprised
The
that
pure
you like
absurdity.
them.
I do like them, and also, we talked about this before on a previous show. The box art is beautiful
Oh,
because
my God.
the box
Fantastic.
for this particular Godzilla toy, it's a painting, a beautiful painting of Godzilla. And he's on his tricycle, and you've got tanks and a jet like chasing him. It's like look, it's right behind you there. It's like, whoa, Godzilla would actually get on his tricycle and try to escape from the tanks.
He's popping a wheelie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And, he's popping
And if you were that size and you had a tricycle that was that size,
Yeah.
you'd make
Yeah.
some tracks. Like you'd develop a sizable lead.
I'm hoping in the new upcoming King Kong versus Godzilla film there is a scene where he's on.
There should be, yes.
Well, all I want to say
and
is
those are-
it's a wicked, it's
is.
wicked
Yeah, it is
wheels.
and they are put out by M1 Toys, which
Right.
such a wonderful toy company. And if you ever go to like G Fest or Monsterpalooza, they're usually there.
Right.
And just go to their booth and buy everything that they put out because they really do it all with love.
All right, so let's talk about the Monsters, Coach. Okay, come on.
Oh, yeah.
He has a problem with the monsters too.
Yeah, do it. Go.
You don't like the monsters?
Well,
do you?
here's the thing. Okay, look,
They're not riding tricycles.
No, it's like we've talked about that. Herman Munster. He's like Frankenstein. He's a little like the Groovy Ghoulies, which we've talked about in the past.
Yeah.
And it's a little too goofy for me. And in a way, their Monster Coach. I don't know if it really fits them. But what do
Why?
you?
Why not?
Well, it's a little too.
It's a hearse.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a decked out.
Yeah,
hearse,
it's
It's
right?
a hot rod hearse.
Yeah.
It's a hot
Hot
rod.
rod, 60s.
It shouldn't be a hot
monster
rod.
hearse.
And Dracula, or Grandpa's dragster, the Dragula, was
love-
actually like a coffin.
It's a
Yeah,
coffin.
which is
Right,
cool.
That-
Yeah, yeah.
Of the two, that's actually my favorite.
Yeah, it's a little cooler than Monster Coach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
You know,
it's like the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's their version of the
Yes.
Beverly Hillbillies,
And
so
was
everybody
that-
could get in it. and
Right.
sit
Right.
there
And weren't they both George Barris designers
they-
too?
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Where is that car now?
Barris has the Monster Coach still.
Really?
The Dracula, I'm not sure what happened to that, but I'm sure that he.
I remember seeing on American Pickers once before, one of them bought a coffin car. I don't think it was from the Munsters, but it looked really cool.
Yeah. Do you remember the episode where they actually made the Dragula so they could race? And
So they could have the
something?
race, yeah.
Have the race.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
a great episode.
And I remember seeing that and go, like, that's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. right.
Coffin car.
Yeah, yeah.
It works so well.
Yeah, no, it was great. I love that show. It was
You know, a hearse is a hearse. Of course, of course.
If we're talking about Barris again, how about the Black Beauty?
Yeah.
Green Hornet.
Green Hornet.
That was actually not.
It's
Barris.
not Barris?
Ooh,
That was.
In my face.
Oh, Ron! Oh, what the hell are
That
you
was-
doing on this show?
that was
Matt
Jay-
Weinhold. Oh.
I accept your criticism.
That was what was his name? Jay Orberg. Can't remember. My friend Ruben would know this because he knows all the.
Well, let's give him a call.
Yeah. Can I get a lifeline? Can I get a lifeline?
No, but okay.
Yeah.
Look. It is a.
I thought that was
yes.
Barris.
It was
Okay.
another guy. No, it's,
See,
they went-
my bad.
Because well, here's the story to that. Because Fox had been burned by Barris because he owned the Batmobile, they couldn't. They weren't making any money off it.
Dean Jeffries.
Dean Jeffries, there you go.
Oh.
And they said, we're going to own this one. We're just going to hire a guy and we're going to own it because we're going to spend the money. And of course, Green Hornet only goes for 13 episodes or whatever.
Well, it also
26.
it was a cool car, but nothing compared to
Nothing
the
compared to the Batmobile.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's cool.
I
but-
like it because it reminds me of the car.
True,
the
right.
car, yeah.
Yes,
It was,
I could see that.
It looks
yes.
tough.
It was a Chrysler Imperial Crown sedan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it has that big kind of boxy,
Yeah.
imposing kind of look to it. Yeah. Well, you speak of Dean Jeffries, because I always thought Dean Jeffries is kind of like the guy after George Barris to a point,
Yeah.
who designed stuff. Because one of my favorite things he designed was the Landmaster vehicle from Damnation Alley.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
And you could drive by Cahuenga and
Yes,
see
And
that.
You did, right?
I
Yeah.
did when I first
Yeah.
came out here in the '80s, and I took a picture with like my little
Yep.
camera. I still have those photos
Yep.
because I recognized it right away. I'm like, what? It was just sitting like he had his auto shop thing, and then like right next to the building was
Right,
the,
yep.
the Landmaster.
And
I
sitting
couldn't
outside,
believe
yeah,
it.
And it's a really cool vehicle.
Yeah.
It talk about futurist, something you'd be on another planet because
Yeah.
it had it's weird the wheels. It had these wheels
Yeah,
that were
kind
on
of three
Sean
wheels that
that
Yeah.
kind of moved.
and it was in two
Wheels
sections.
within wheels. That-
Yeah,
kinda
yeah.
they have the thing.
So you could get over things and rocks.
Yeah,
and-
Do you remember on Super Adventure Team where one of the characters swore and said, "Damn Nation Alley"? I thought that was so funny.
But yeah, that was the Landmaster is pretty much just as much a star of that movie as the cast in the film.
That's Jan Michael Vincent.
Jan Michael Vincent and George Papard. But also, a lot of people think that same vehicle is the vehicle used in the Saturday morning TV show Arc 2, which was done in 1976, which was a...
But it's not?
film. No, it wasn't. It was designed by somebody else. It was like a 6-wheeled RV type thing.
Okay.
A mobile laboratory.
thought
It looks
that
a lot
wa-
like it, but it's not. It wasn't designed by Dean Jeffries, and it's not the same vehicle.
Thanks
It's
for
very
setting me
close.
straight because I
Very
thought that
close.
was the same. Okay.
But that was a cool
I
show
stand
too. It
corrected.
was like a whole. It was like the post-apocalyptic
We're
world.
learning
driving
so
around.
much
Yeah.
during this episode.
One
Yeah.
famous TV car we haven't talked about is Knight Rider, the kit car.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Now we had a friend. I think his name was Jason.
Yeah, Jason Smith.
Jason Smith, and he had a replica made.
Yeah, there's this subculture of collectors who buy kit cars or replica kit cars. He didn't have one made. I mean, he knew somebody who was selling
Right.
one, and he owned it for a while, but then it wasn't really street legal, and it was.
It kept talking
yeah.
to him,
But
right?
yeah, no, he had the what's his name? What's the voice guy?
Oh, William
William Daniels'
Daniels,
voice. He had
yeah.
recordings of his voice in there. It's like, Michael, get out of the way. And it had the whole,
Lights.
yeah, everything inside.
It wasn't
really
street
cool.
legal?
No. But he would drive it around like short distances.
So you
but-
brought it to your birthday party.
Yeah.
No, that's the problem, Wally. Isn't it with some of these? If you had a Batmobile, like a classic item, it's not really street legal, are
No
they?
headlights on the Batmobile. That's the main problem.
Wait.
Oh.
Wait, there's no headlights?
No, it's a grill. It's like a whole for the look of the. Yeah, see, there's just the little hazard lights, but there's no real headlights.
Wow.
Oh, I don't think I realized that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means you can't go out at nighttime.
Which
can't
is
go out at
strange
all.
for Batman. No, you can't go anywhere without. There's a lot of
There's a
things.
law.
Yeah, but these guys have figured out how to make the Batmobile replicas street legal, so you can buy them. Because who's going to want to pay $100,000 to have
That's
a Batmobile
just it.
and not
Yeah.
be able to drive it around?
Exactly.
So they can make them street legal with a few modifications.
Okay.
But but the original was absolutely not. So
Could they do this? I would like a Blade Runner police spinner.
Oh yeah. It actually
Matt,
flies.
that's such a cool car.
That would be a hard one to make street legal, I think.
a flying
Well,
car.
not obviously it's not going to fly,
Right.
but just driving down the street because it could also drive down the street.
But you've
Right,
got a
right.
big windshield. You can look all around,
Yeah, and there are areas where you could have the turn signals and the rear view mirrors and everything like that.
Right.
But
And
I
that
just
was,
wonder if the shape of it, is there some sort of rule or law that
About the wheels kind of being in the
too far in front, or
Yeah, that I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
that's a great. God, is that
That's
a
a
great
beautiful
design?
looking
Sid
car.
Mead,
Sid Mead,
did
yeah.
some incredible work
Amazing.
on that entire movie. In fact, all the vehicles in that movie I think are
Yeah.
brilliant.
So this
Deckard's car.
Blade Runner from 1979.
Yes.
82.
82. I
Oh,
mean, I
wrong
meant
again.
82.
Wrong again. Wow, how about
was
that?
just
I'm on a
testing
roll, Matt.
I
I'm on a roll.
can't
it goes
remember
85
any
miles an hour.
33 in the air.
33. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so some wicked wheels I have to mention because it's not exactly iconic, but it's fascinating to me, and that would be all the vehicles from 1982's Megaforce.
Oh, Barry Bostwick. Yeah.
Oh, great
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah.
Great hair.
Yeah.
in
Great
that movie.
jumpsuit.
Yeah.
This
yeah.
is directed by Hal Needham,
Right.
who had made a name for himself as a stuntman and stunt director.
And he said that he would never make a rated R movie. His films would
Really?
always be PG.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
Megaforce is known for being like, it had all these like gun battles and fights, and you'd never see anybody actually get killed. 'Cause
Yeah.
Why is that not on Blu-ray?
I know. There's
I think I can tell you.
Does it only sell about 7 copies?
that movie.
And 6 of them would be Barry Bostwick.
Yeah, Barry Bonds and me. I would because it is. Yeah, no, it's a terrible movie, but it's a very entertaining movie.
It had some cool vehicles in
Well,
it,
that's
though.
the thing is that
The vehicles
all
are probably the best part.
The whole thing with they had this design of this this elite task force to keep peace in the world, and so they had these all these different high tech vehicles. And I remember Hal Needham saying at the time, "Yeah, like the military is checking out our vehicles because they really liked the
Yeah.
design.
I remember
that's what it
that.
They were
Yes.
learning from
And the
us."
uniforms,
Yeah,
'cause they were gonna copy
the
those.
spandex,
Right, yeah.
The
But
spandex?
you had,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But you had like these, you had this mega fighter, which is kind of like a tank thing, and the mega destroyer, which is like a little doom buggy thing. They all had guns on them, and of course you had the flying motorcycle that Barry Bostwick rode. But there actually was a toy line, Hot Wheels, they put out, but they were quickly canceled because the movie was a huge bomb. But our listener, Walt Keegan,
Yeah.
had sent us some gifts recently, and he actually sent me a Mega Fighter and Mega Destroyer Hot Wheels.
Yes,
Yes.
you got them here.
Which are
Yes.
rare. And
That's the
hard to
closest I've
find.
seen Sean coming to tears.
Yeah.
When I worked with Barry on Incredibles 2, we were talking about that, and I said, I just saw you this morning, because I put movie posters up occasionally, periodically, and I had the Megaforce poster up, and I walk in, there's Barry Bostwick. We're like, I just saw you this morning. He's like, what? I said, yeah, we're on my Megaforce poster. Oh, I love that movie, love that movie. he was telling me there's a contingent of hardcore Megaforce
There are,
fans
yeah.
I bet.
who are being very successful, apparently, at finding those old vehicles and restoring them.
Yes, I found a site, a Megaforce site, and yeah, there are people who are making actual life
Megaforce
Megaforce vehicles. It's insane.
That's also the only other movie Persis Kambata was in, apart from Star Trek: The Motion
Right,
Picture,
right, yeah.
That was it.
She died young, right?
Yes, she did.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
she has hair in that movie.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but that
It was really
movie, I mean, you got
beautiful.
Barry Bostwick, you have Michael Beck from Xanadu,
Sure.
Henry Silva, Edward Mulehair, like he was doing that. Then he was doing Knight Rider because he was the boss of Knight Rider.
Oh, right, yeah.
But the movie is ridiculous, but it is actually Times has been good to it somehow. It's like it's
Yeah, yeah.
so bizarre and cheesy in its own universe.
I want to see that on a double bill with Can't Stop the Music.
Oh my God. That'd be great. Also, just a little trivia: there was an Atari 2600 video game based on Megaforce,
Wow.
And there's a commercial you can see on YouTube, and it's like the worst graphics ever. But in the commercial, very briefly, you see a teenager kid sit down at the console and put a Megaforce helmet on, and start playing the game. It's Bryan Cranston. Yeah.
That movie
So, yeah.
came out, the
82.
timing was just against it
I know,
because it came
yeah.
out right when all these movies were just coming out.
I know,
AT
82,
and
Magic,
Poltergeist.
Magic.
Hold the
Yeah.
phone here. Time was against it?
Well, okay, there was more than time against it. Yeah, no, true.
Right.
It would have bombed at any time.
Yes, thank you.
I like the headbands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like those too. You know, sometimes I wish I could go back to those
We should
days.
cosplay that sometime. All those
Yeah.
You know, I have a spandex outfit. I could, yeah.
You remember the tag?
Do you own some
Yes,
spandex?
it was-
Really?
I actually do. It's a.
Do you
it's
really?
it's a onesie zip up. Yeah.
Wow.
I was
I
thinking
would
of where.
do
I was thinking of.
anything to see you in that.
You know what? Maybe for our spandex episode.
Because I'll do it too.
Okay.
I think
Hey.
I've got some somewhere.
All right. Well, we could go on and on.
Well-
It's so tight that you can tell what religion Larry is.
Spandic.
Oh!
All right.
Should we do a quick
Yes,
lightning
yeah.
round?
I mean,
there's-
we could go on and on, but I mean, this has been loads of fun. And Wally, you've been great. But let's just do like one lightning round.
just
Let's
a couple,
little
throw out a
things.
couple,
Go
yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me throw this out. Okay.
Sure.
2 films. One. I love the vehicle, the motorcycles in this. It's from Akira. And
great.
it's like
Brilliant.
Kaneda, the main character, drives this motorcycle. It's kind of similar to a light cycle in a
Right,
way.
right.
Yes,
But it
yeah.
seems more realistic because the tires are really, really wide.
Yeah.
But it's a very futuristic
It's
design.
a beautiful bike.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I love that.
So it's really, really cool. I like that one. And then the second one, it's not so much a vehicle, but more like a wicked vehicle movie. It's called Fenderbender. Fenderbender. This is by a filmmaker named Mark Pavia, who I actually worked with.
Yeah.
And he's a
Playboy.
great guy. Yes, exactly. And he wrote and directed this, which is it's a really scary, scary movie about this guy who kind of he's wearing this old leather outfit and goes after these kids that kind of get in car accidents, and it's
I like it already.
Yeah,
Sounds like
yeah.
a slasher
Gotten away with it
movie.
too had it not been for you meddling kids.
No, but it's a lot of fun and scary, and it doesn't really end how you think it might end.
Great.
It actually kind of shocked
Oh.
me.
I'll
So,
check it out.
Yeah.
Couple more Stephen King titles. One of them, the notorious Maximum Overdrive, the only
course.
movie he directed, based on a short story of his called Trucks, which is actually a great story,
Really?
and was also made into a TV movie
In the
with
90s.
Timothy Busfield.
Right,
yeah.
right. Was that better than Maximum Overdrive? Was that,
Well-
it wasn't as much fun.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
That
was more
film
faithful.
was panned, and he directed it and decided I will never direct again.
It's not his thing.
Yeah.
not as-
So
Right.
I'm not for
But the Green
listeners
Goblin
don't.
truck.
yeah, that Green
Yeah.
Robin
That-
face truck.
yeah.
That's the one thing you remember out of that.
But
Yeah.
for listeners, I wouldn't say go out and check this film out. It's not really great. Oh,
I kind of want to see it. I
You've
haven't.
never seen it?
No.
Oh, it's worth. I think
I mean,
it's worth
it's
seeing
ridiculous.
once.
It's got like lots of like. It does have lots of like AC/DC music,
All right,
and like lots of
okay.
like
Yeah,
hard
yeah,
rock, and
yeah.
I mean it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
ridiculous, but it,
I kind of do want to see it.
I love the crawl at the end of the movie that explains how they got rid of all of them.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
I won't
right.
spoil it, but
Oh,
it just
okay.
is like because it was so timely at the time. It's like because everybody's talking about the particular thing, and I don't want to blow it for them.
Okay.
but
Right,
it
right,
was
right.
it was hilarious. I'm like that's
Great. Okay.
brilliant.
That's good.
And that there's another title which I don't know if we'll ever really have the opportunity to talk about again, but we bring up David Cronenberg every so often, and he did a movie in '96 called Crash,
Right.
which is about this cult, this subcult of fetishists who fetishize car crashes, and they get a sexual turn on from it. And I was really into Cronenberg when I went to see it, and I saw it in a little art theater, and these two old ladies were sitting in front of me, and I had I had context because I'd seen all of Cronenberg's work, so I was
right.
kind of waiting for new flesh references, and there are some in that movie. I could sort of see where he was going because I knew what his thing was. I can't imagine what those two old ladies were thinking, but it's
This is so hot. Don't you agree, Martha? Oh, yeah. I feel alive for the first time in years.
but it's a very, very slow studied movie.
That's one of his I have not seen. Yeah, I actually have to see that.
I don't think I've seen that either.
Look,
No.
if you're a Cronenberg fan, just see it because you're a Cronenberg fan.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, totally.
And it's certainly better than some of his more recent movies.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's still it's one of those movies where you're kind of watching it and thinking, what is he really trying to do? Plus it was based on a book by Jim Ballard, who had also done Empire of the Sun, the Spielberg story, and I'm just like I see no connection between how could the same
Right.
person write these two things?
Right.
But James Spader's in it, Holly Hunter.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
got a good cast.
Is it Sherilyn Fenn? Is she in it or not?
Is she
Maybe
in
not.
it?
I'm thinking
I
of
don't
something
remember
else.
her being in it. I think Roseanne Arquette is in it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Pia Zadora,
But
Charo.
Charlie Callis.
Cronenberg and Charo.
that would have
That'd be
been
a
great.
good-
Actually.
Crash. Never fails.
You know you're a comic icon when just the mere mention of your name makes everybody laugh.
Oh, and then finally, speaking of Jerry Anderson, this vehicles, supercars,
All those shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The UFO mobiles.
the mobiles, yeah.
The mobiles, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we can't not mention those. So yeah.
Well, I would just like to give a shout out to all the Japanese vehicles and the tokusatsu shows that we love so much, like Ultraman. Through all the Ultraman series, there's just a number of just wonderful cars and vehicles. And Kamen Rider is another thing. If you want to see just variations on the theme of like a bug-looking motorcycle, these shows are incredible. They show so much imagination and ingenuity. So just start with the first Ultraman, the first Kamen Rider, and just work your way through all of them. I would also like to recommend, there's a film called Wormwood, Road of the Dead, 2014 Australian film, and it's a zombie film that kind of mixes elements of like the Road Warrior, but it's even crazier than that, because in this zombie apocalypse, all of a sudden, through some series of circumstances, regular flammable liquid doesn't work anymore. But what is flammable is zombie breath and blood.
Of course it is.
So they figure out a way.
That's the name of my 2 kids.
Tell them I miss them. But so at some point they figure this out, and they have cars powered by zombies. Wow. So, I mean, how cool is that? And then you throw, on top of that, you throw in, there's a woman who is now able to telepathically control zombies. And so that works its way into the plot. But this is a great movie. It's fun. It has wonderful stunts. It's very clever. And I say check that out. And I would also, just from a design point of view, Ghost Rider was always a better looking character, and the motorcycle was always cooler than the actual comic itself. And that certainly goes for the movies. But I would say that the latest movies, they're the ones that really nailed the best looking bike. And so if for any other reason to look at 15 minutes of a Ghost Rider movie, just fast forward your way to the bike stuff. Because, you know, when you see this hell cycle that's, you know, the forks are made of chains and the tires are flames just going up the side of a building, that's pretty awesome.
I thought you were going to say Ghostbusters. Because I like the Ghostbusters, which is like an ambulance. It's like an ambulance.
That's not my favorite car.
So Ghost Rider's tires are made by Firestone?
Firestone! Good night, everybody.
Wally,
tip your waitress.
Wally, do you have any last wicked wheels?
Did we do yours yet?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, he went on for so long. I thought maybe.
Oh, that's good. Just as a TV child, the 2 M&Ms, monkeys.
Which was great.
Apparently, Nate Truman, who has been trying to find somebody to make a monkey mobile for Star Cars, the car that it's actually based on is worth more as the car than it would be as a monkey.
Wow.
So you're actually destroying a great car to make it to customer.
Are you serious?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why nobody's willing to do it, because if you can find these cars, they're worth so much money. And I can't remember what the model is that it's based on.
Right.
But it's worth a lot because it's fairly rare. And of course, the other M is Thomas Magnum, and the famous Ferrari with the red Ferrari or Robin, at Robin's Nest, and which had to have the seat lowered, customized. Had to have the seat lowered because Tom Selleck was so tall, and those Ferraris are so small. So if you see one of the actual Ferraris, the seat's like squished way down into the thing. So
wow.
yeah. But love that Ferrari. Wow, that's cool. Amazing.
Okay, I have a few. Speaking of Hal Needham, there's this crazy TV movie from 1979 called Death Car on the Freeway. And
I don't know.
Now, Death Car just normally is bad.
But it's on the freeway.
You had me at Death Car.
So this is it.
The sequel is Death Car on a Country Road.
Death Car on the Freeway is it stars Shelley Hack as this intrepid female reporter.
You got me.
Yeah.
And she's looking into this series of murders happening in the freeway. There's this guy that's been called the Freeway Fiddler. Because he drives his car while blasting fiddle music on his 8-track player and forcing female drivers off the road.
Wow.
That's the premise of the show.
See, I thought he was fiddling.
No.
I thought so.
And then he can't drive, so he crashes.
He's listening to fiddle music, so it's like she's investing. But this cast, this is 1979 TV, okay? Shelley Hack, Peter Graves, Frank Gorshin, Dinah Shore, Abe Vigoda, George Hamilton. It's like your classic 70s
Does
cast.
Frank Gorshin?
Everyone you would want at a party.
Yeah.
Does Frank Gorshin play the car?
It's like a Love Boat episode.
It's a pretty fun one. And then another movie that is also called Crash from early 70s. I think one of the first movies that Charles Band directed. And this is a crazy cuckoo movie with Sue Lyon from Lolita and Jose Ferrer. Jose Ferrer is in a wheelchair because his wife Sue Lyon caused him to be in an accident, so he's bitter towards her. He wants to kill her. Meanwhile, she goes to a flea market and buys this little talisman from Reggie Nalder. Never buy anything from Reggie Nalder. At a flea market. And it's like this little accursed idol on a necklace. And when it's put around the rearview mirror of the car becomes possessed and starts causing all these crashes. And the movie makes no sense, but it's got lots of cool crashes. And Sue Lyon gets possessed, and it's crazy.
And one of our previous guests, David Dakota, just was obsessed with that
loves
film.
That movie, yeah.
And he worked for Charles Band. He ended up directing a lot of films.
And it was,
but he was so dedicated,
That's
Charles
right,
Band, and he told Charles Band how much he loved the film Crash. He actually was given the little idol
talisman. Yeah.
So David Dakota has
the original movie. The original title was called Akaza, God of Vengeance, but they decided just to call it Crash! ! So there's that one, and then there's a very strange, not necessarily supernatural, but a very strange, creepy movie by Peter Weir called The Cars That Ate Paris.
I'm so happy you brought that up because I was mad at myself that I forgot to bring that one up because I just watched that last night.
Very strange movie.
It's sort of a comedy,
kind of
trying to be a comedy, but it's not really that funny.
This very isolated town is causing.
There's a
passerbys
nebbishy guy who accidentally causes the death of someone with his car.
Right.
And he is so traumatized by it that he can't drive anymore. And he comes to this town where these Australian hooligans have these souped up jalopies and they're terrorizing the town. And he ends up working for the mayor, and the mayor gets terrorized by these guys, and he's had it. So he lights one of the cars on fire. And these hooligans, that was a line too far. So they come back and they've souped up their cars even more. And there's one car that's truly iconic.
Very memorable.
Which is a VW. It's
bug.
like a VW bug with spikes coming out of everywhere.
Yeah, it's like a porcupine VW bug.
Yeah, it's like
so
Herbie the Death Bug.
It's the punk rock version of Herbie.
Yeah. It's like it was used a lot of the promotional material for the movie.
And it is
very
really cool.
Yeah.
But the movie itself is kind of a mess.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I mean, I know, it's worth seeing once.
It's worth seeing once, yes.
Yeah. I have to also throw out there 1986, The Wraith with Charlie Sheen. Drives this Dodge Turbo Interceptor. He's kind of like a ghost who comes back to kill the hooligans who caused his death or something.
Oh, those hooligans.
That's a weird one. And The Hearse, kind of a ghost story, 1980. Trish Vanderveer, she moves into her dead aunt's house, and she's haunted by this menacing black hearse that keeps showing up.
All right.
She moves into whose house?
It's like her dead aunt.
Dead aunt.
Reg of the Nerds.
Well, I gotta tell you, this has been great. We've gone over so many wicked wheels.
And I just thought of 9 more, but we'll have to do another episode.
We'll do another round. Well, Wally, I want to thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Wally.
And your knowledge of just the Batmobile and the Grand Torino and all this other.
We're going to ride in her car now.
Yeah.
You know what? It's so big we could probably. Who wants to be Chim Chim and sit in the trunk?
So I know you're probably working on a bunch of stuff that you can't talk about. Is there anything you can talk about that you might be working on, or some our listeners can look forward to? I mean, I know we can always see you on or hear you on Family Guy.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff, but you're right. Everything's NDA now. You know.
Okay.
It's kind of sad. But
we hope to see you in.
Yes, but I can say if you're ever flying on American Airlines, you might hear a voice that's kind of familiar. That's an ongoing thing. So that's been going on for several years.
Cool.
Please make sure your safety belt is securely fastened around your waist. Thank you.
Nice.
You know, I'm about to take an American Airlines flight. in
on
about
the
2
red eye?
hours. So
You will hear me then.
Damn.
Because it'll be on the big plane. So yeah.
Wow.
But my
It's
friend,
like we're family.
My friend Sarah just did a movie called Annabelle Comes Home. So
What? Would you know what? Is Sarah
Where is
around?
she? Oh my gosh, she's right behind us.
She just walked in the door.
She just materialized.
We can telepathically communicate with her,
Cool.
like the lady
my
who can
gosh.
telepathically communicate with zombies. We got to.
Oh my gosh, this is Sarah.
But as a movie poster
Sarah
collector,
Rafferty,
it's really
yes.
cool to actually have now your friend Sarah's who's actually on a movie poster. Which
Now,
is,
and it's also great because this is such a horrifying movie. So you were in a very scary movie.
Yeah, I was fortunate to be a part of Annabelle Comes Home.
Annabelle Comes Home, part of the Annabelle series.
Yeah.
on the freeway.
in Monte Carlo.
Playing the fiddle.
No. There's no fiddle playing. But Sarah, what were you in this creepy film?
Well, I was one of the many things that is unleashed in the Warrens' house.
okay.
I don't want to give too much of the movie away if you haven't
Sure,
seen it,
sure.
but yes, that one room where all the artifacts of all the things that either possessed or used for some kind of dangerous demonic ritual and stuff, get a little let go in the house. And I
cool.
got to play something called a coin corpse.
A coin corpse.
I guess, back in the day, they used to put coins over the eyes of the dead
Right.
to give as tribute to the ferryman, so it would safely bring your soul across.
Now we just throw them in the pond at Universal Studios.
Oh, we got it from there, actually.
The wishing well at Disneyland.
I sanitized my eyes very much. No, it was really fun to do it, in the editing, of course, in the chopping block, you miss out on some of the fun stuff that you get to film, because I had to do it all blind.
you get to do
Right,
it blind.
because he had the
Because he had
things
the
on
coins.
there.
Yes,
yeah.
they actually put real coins to cover our eyes. So everything we did, some of the walking, and I did a fun stunt work near stair work. You just have to count your steps and hope to God that the PA caught you.
Wow.
So they let you run through it a few times, right? I'm assuming.
Yes,
Without the coins.
no,
Yeah.
we well maybe like once, but most of the time,
Just to get the layout,
it was like
right?
ready to go. But
Wow.
I worked. The stunt coordinator Mark Norby was really really kind, and he just was making sure that you were safe 100%. Like
Right.
and of course they built a coffin for me. Actually,
Did you get to keep it?
oh, I wish. But you know what? Thank God you're dead, because those things hurt your back so much.
Right.
Because I was trying, one thing about filming, it's time is money. And it was about, I made an effort to not move at all. It was hours stuck in that coffin.
They can't throw a Tempur-Pedic in there? Or?
Oh, I wish. I wish. But you know what? I'm dead, so who am I going to blame?
Put some wheels on it. Drive around, Grandpa Munster.
now you've done this one, but you've been in a bunch of other stuff too. I mean, I've seen you. You did some hosting or something.
Yeah,
That's on YouTube. What was that?
You know what? It's surprising. I was like, John C. Reilly back in the day. You see him everywhere, but you don't know his name. Actually, Blumhouse worked in partnership to create this online thing, which is now actually making TV shows on Facebook and stuff. But they're called Crypt TV.
Crypt TV.
Oh, okay.
And they have made like a lot of their own original monsters, which I believe, you'll start maybe even seeing with Universal and stuff. But they actually, for a short period, gave me my own show called Roadkill with Sarah.
Roadkill with
Yeah.
Sarah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
On the freeway.
Yeah.
In Monte Carlo.
Play the fiddle.
Unfortunately, it was very short lived because they had change of head of Crypt and
Sure, but I saw you. I thought you were great. You
I
were
loved it.
Interviewing people and stuff. It was awesome.
I would go on the streets and I would literally have fun talking about nothing but horror, like making people do questions. And if it had continued, they were letting me produce it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make it a show about the fans, so I was hoping
Right.
to do like a live Facebook feeds where I would bring in people for interviews that I knew through in the horror community, and I would let people that were big fans that may not be there, but write in and ask questions
Right.
so that they could be a part of it. They could be answering those questions because they may never get to meet their horror heroes.
Right. You're also on you played several roles on the competition game show Elevator.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Elevator was fun. You know,
Tell us the premise of that, because it's freaking people out in the
so
elevator.
Elevator was actually partnered with some of the people who did Fear Factor.
Right.
So they actually, did these interviews months in advance, and they would find out the actual fears of these people that they were going to bring on. And it was fun because they would actually one day go pick them up, bag them, drive them around, like say these like scary things to them, make them really scared, and then they would bring them to the studio, dump them in an elevator.
What could go wrong there?
And
I'm going to sue.
and then they would make them one by one do these
like
these
tasks and
that were
challenges.
big, but they kind of had Fear Factory based on horror stuff. So they
Right.
hired professional actors like me, who I've worked in a lot of horror, and
Right.
to create part of these storylines. And I worked almost every episode of the 2 seasons that I was on.
That's cool. You're always like a different character too, right?
Different
like a corpse
character
bride
every
or something
episode.
or
I
whatever.
did Corpse Bride. I was a girl on a bed of nails. That was fun.
Cool.
So I actually did a full death scene. Like it you didn't see it much, but I did the full crying and the blood and everything.
Cool.
I did it didn't make it in, but I did they had models that had like boils on their back. And
boils.
and it was cool because like you had to actually pop these boils.
Oh my
But
god.
I played the model that was like sick as a dog. So like as she went by, I did the whole like never let go Jack button vomit that I had regurgitated on the window. And I had a blast because
Sounds great.
every
Yeah,
day was
sounds-
different. You
Right,
really
that's
got.
cool.
And I did one thing that I loved the most. It was a demonic cheerleader with no mouth. Like I was sealed in, but I actually they didn't show it, but I made the girl pee her pants.
Oh.
She was so scared to come out.
That's
and
the one you have to show.
Yeah.
she actually had to they had to bring a chair to her, and she was hyperventilating. And I felt so bad.
You did your job.
But
Now I've also seen you. I remember seeing something with you as a zombie. You were at a zombie. Was this at Universal Studio? You did this walk through like a mall or something as a zombie.
Oh no! I think it was same with Crypt TV. I did a live as a evil elf of Christmas called Glydia the Evil Elf.
I'm wrong again,
No.
Matt. What do you think about that?
Do you know what show you're on?
85 miles an
hour. This is
No,
not
I was-
I'm always wrong party.
No, this was great. I actually got Crypt TV's first. I had over 500,000 people watch me do this. I would just go up to people and be like, "Hello, my pretties. What your darkest Christmas wish? You make my dark heart dark."
I don't like this.
But the makeup was really cool, though.
Yeah, it was actually. I've worked with this makeup artist several times. God, I'm forgetting her name. I feel so bad, but she's amazing. I worked with several horror projects, but she made me this kind of dark Christmas elf that was almost blue, and with this beautiful long white Christmas elf and like a German beer maid outfit from freaking monster costumes. But I had fun. It was just really about improving and
Right.
making people a little freaked out, but also intrigued.
But the funny thing is, you've done these scary, like the scary cheerleader and the models with the boil. But I've also seen you do this beautiful stuff. There were some friends that I had that made you up to look like Maleficent. And you are just stunning, Sarah. Just stunning. You've done beauty stuff too.
You need a calendar.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, I was very fortunate for a couple years to work for Mud Makeup Designer, who do amazing horror makeup. These students are uber talented, and I did the beauty end. My good friends Scott Sebring and Vicky Sebring brought me in. Actually, is the reason why I was started modeling for them. But Vicky wanted to do makeup, so I was like, yeah, of course, I love you guys, let's do it. And unbelievable what she even took just a cheap $20 Maleficent horns, but what she made was unbelievable. And
Yeah.
they were really the masters in doing that. I just was standing there and being the puppet.
Well, you're a pretty beautiful looking puppet. I wanted to tell you there.
You can get Maleficent horns for $20. I had to pay $40 for mine.
Sarah, is there
ripped
some
off.
like
You
if,
got scammed.
if someone wants to find out more about the stuff that you're doing, is there some place where listeners can go to? Is there
You can find me on social media. It's easy to find me on Instagram. It's funny. I'm Lil Lil Jedi Elf. I'm a huge nerd.
Little Jedi Elf?
Yes.
Cool.
Or
Okay.
you can find me on Facebook
At
at just look up Sarah Raftery. So
How do you spell that?
Raftery, and there's no H in my first name. But no, yeah, I post and feel free, talk to me. I love talking to
Doing it
people.
now.
Yes, indeed.
Cool.
Well, Sarah, thank you
Awesome.
for
Thanks so
joining
much,
us.
Sarah.
I got to check you out. What
No,
you
where
look
are
like
you
and
on the
then-
poster? Which one are you?
You're on the poster?
Oh, I'm on the lower left.
Okay.
Just tiny. You just see like the coin corpse. I'm in an Edwardian dress and very.
That's where my eye goes, though. When I see that poster, I go right to the lower left.
And
So
one more tag.
You're commanding.
Yeah.
I actually worked on something last year as well that just came out, and it's getting a lot of trending in the LBGT. I don't know how to say them all. It's called Bit, and it's actually Bit. It actually has
BIT.
Diana Hopper from Goliath, and it's lesbian vampires. That
Matt.
Cool.
but
My life is now complete.
Oh, you know me too well.
I did a small tidbit. I was brought in and just as like background that day because with a bunch of my punk rock friends, and then they came up to me and they're like, "The girl we have to do this scene is intimidated to do this. You seem to be okay to do it." And I was like, "Sure. What is it?" And he was like, "We need you to make out with Diana Hopper." I'm like, "All right."
Did you just say titbit? For a vampire lesbian thing, that's so appropriate.
I'm so sorry.
That's the film I'm producing.
But it's an acting gig. You
It's an
decided
acting
you're
gig.
gonna,
Yeah.
And I made it on the poster too of her going at my neck. So
Wow.
no, it was fun to do it.
Oh,
and
to have your life.
no, it's like as an actor, you're pulled in to do the strangest things. You
Sure,
know, one
yeah,
day I'm
yeah,
doing
yeah.
a scene on a bed
Showbiz.
of nails, the next thing I'm making out with Billy Bob Thornton's daughter in Goliath.
Just
Wow.
making people happy all around.
Yeah. And since we're on the car subject, I did
Yeah.
want to throw in. I don't know if you had said it, but did you guys leave out the Oldsmobile from Army of Darkness?
Oh, that.
The Delta
Matt,
88
what the hell are you doing?
Not only Army of Darkness, but it later showed up in Ash versus
Sure.
versus
Yeah.
Evil
Well, you
Dead
know what it
series.
is? I think it's one of those things. You know how it's like when you get familiar with someone, you start to take them for granted.
True.
And I think that's what we
Good
did.
call.
But it took you
Yes.
to make everything right.
Sarah,
You know-
thank you
Right.
so much for bringing. That is a wicked wheels
I know.
vehicle.
Yes.
And I have two more just because.
yes.
Please,
Please.
go.
Why not from Buckaroo Banzai, the jet car?
Oh yes.
And-
goes,
Matt's
the
not a big fan.
goes into
Matt-
the eighth dimension.
Yeah.
I like the car.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Okay.
Okay.
And just because I love the old golden era, but I religiously watched, you guys are hammered for this, the Brendan Fraser Mummy when I was little. And I love the Duesenberg. I think it's just a
I like the first one.
beautiful car.
I did the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just had to throw that out because it was a car that
CGI doesn't really hold up, but
Yeah.
but I can forgive that.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for
Yes.
having me. I know I'm just crashing the party here. It's
No.
That's what we like.
Crashing the party.
Crashing.
Hey, all right.
My punk
I got
rock
one more
days.
car. I got one more car.
One more.
But because we were just talking, we were talking about it before we went
Yeah.
on. But the SSP toy cars.
Oh, the SSP toys from the
Supersonic
70s.
powered.
Come on, Wally, come on. The
They were-
little ripcord.
Ripcord cars.
yeah.
And then they later
SS or STP?
No.
SSP.
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 Okay.
Supersonic
Come on,
power.
come on. Dude, you like toys? Come on, SSPs.
Yes.
But then, like, they initially they looked like kind of concept car, hot rods,
Yeah.
futuristic.
Right.
But then, where they really cornered the market was they decided to do a demolition derby, the smash up derby,
Smash Up Derby.
Those are so
Every
And-
young boy's dream.
and it was the best toy ever.
cars that were made to be
to
destroyed.
to fly apart.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find them now intact because those
all the
pieces are
pieces
all
flew
over
away.
America.
Yeah.
Right,
So the
right.
SSP technology with the zip thing was
Yeah.
the same technology behind Whizzers.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and
exactly.
the Evil Knievel.
Well,
no,
no. He's had got a
but
crank.
The zip
It's a crank.
Didn't they have a zip?
No. What the hell are you doing on this show?
Get out of America.
I'm a little scared.
Okay. So,
Sean,
yeah.
dead to me, Sheridan.
Just like the SSP cars.
Well, Wally and Sarah, thank you so much for being with us tonight. It was just a thrill to have you both.
Yes,
No.
absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Come,
Anytime.
Come back again.
Oh, thank
Please.
you.
I want
Yeah,
to raise
love
my
to.
glass and toast to Wally Wingert and Sarah Rafferty and to Wicked Wheels.
Time for a listener shout out.
Shout out!
This goes to our old friend Steve Batzer from Fife Lake, Michigan.
Steve Batzer!
I don't know if you guys remember, but Steve had actually sent us a gift package several months ago.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, I love gifts.
More recently, he sent us a letter, an actual letter.
Oh my God.
He sent a
handwritten.
letter?
With a couple of specific guest suggestions, one of which had to do with a horror host.
Oh,
Cool.
yeah.
Oh, you know what? We'll pay a good amount of attention to
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Where's the Monster Party garbage can? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Steve.
Sure, Steve.
Steve, we treat you like you're one of us.
Yeah.
With disdain.
Aren't you proud? And we wanted you to know that we have not forgotten you. I know you sent this letter in a while ago, but we wanted to mention that we will talk about these and consider these suggestions, so we really appreciate
What does he got?
Well, wait, how long ago? Was this like 6
Yeah, how
months?
long ago was
Have you
this?
been holding out on
It
us?
came around the time of Monster Palooza when we were very busy.
Oh, okay.
Monster Palooza.
Come on, like what?
2013.
This year's Monster Palooza.
James, what are you, like the Nazis? You're like censoring our mail?
You're redacted on there.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the right moment, okay?
Oh yeah, the right moment.
Also
What
wanted
is this,
to-
the Mueller report?
Oh, timely.
Also want to thank all the listeners who chimed in to answer our previous guest, Aaron Lee's question about the scene that he remembers with hands coming out of a parking lot. I don't think we have any slam dunks just
But
yet.
yeah, one of them was the Doctor Who one, where the planet and there's the hands coming out of the ground. That was a recent Doctor Who episode.
It
I
can't be
remember.
that, though.
No, it's not
Probably
that.
isn't
I mean, they
that.
sent those. And,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and other ones. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think Aaron just imagined the whole thing.
it might have been from a dream.
I
don't
Feels
know.
like it's from a dream.
I
I want to believe.
I really think it was from Fiddler on the Roof.
I can only-
Listeners, you'd have to check the last episode.
It would save that movie.
It's a very good movie.
I know.
And finally, a very special birthday shout out to our listener Tobias Sternstrom. in
Tobias!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Tobias.
Tobias.
monster
Thank you for
Tobias.
listening. We appreciate you.
Yes, he has been with us since, I guess, the beginning.
Yeah.
pretty
Oh my
much.
gosh.
Yeah,
Awesome
And,
listener.
awesome
Big supporter.
listener, big supporter, loyal fan.
We don't have a lot of listeners in Sweden, I don't think.
No,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
Tobias, you're it. And
No,
you're,
no,
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 there could
he's-
be.
come on.
There's a few more.
But you're our favorite.
You're our favorite. Yeah. Of all of Sweden, we love you the best.
You represent with the Monster Party cap and T-shirt. You
Yes.
spread the
Right.
word. We
No.
appreciate it.
Hey, but we love Sweden.
Oh, sure.
I do.
Yeah.
We should all go. Yeah. Monster Party goes to Sweden.
Road trip. And let's also remind our listeners, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at Monster Party TV, our Twitter handle at Monster Party HQ, Instagram, also Monster Party HQ. If you're listening to us on iTunes or whatever the later incarnation of iTunes
Apple
happens to be,
Music or something,
or
what is
other,
it?
please take a moment and
God,
write
we
a
suck.
review. We're old.
We're all, you can find us on the wireless.
The machine.
Yeah.
Please take a moment.
CB channel.
All right.
Write a review. We'd love to hear from you, and chances are very good we would read it on the air.
On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong!
And remember that Monster Party and cars have a lot in common. We both get gassed. Woo! And you know you gotta hug this thing.
Yeah.
He's
But I'm not. I'm going to wait for the.
You're gonna wait for the moment. Yeah. So you don't go. You don't Vader all over this thing.
Picking pizza out of my teeth.
There's a reason why we put these screens.
And we can look up anything.
Because what we
on
do is then
IMDb if you need
we
it.
take them off and then we make a tea, like a broth out of it. Yeah. Like that Don Martin cartoon.
Right, yeah.
You know the one I'm talking about?
what you say, and then when that guy
Where
was
it's
in
the
that
guy-
movie, and you're trying. We stop. Sean
One of
can
his
look
characters
at it,
goes
so
into
we
like a
edit it,
natural
so it always
restaurant
sound-
and asks the waiter, "What do you guys got on the menu?" And he's got a big beard. And the guy goes, we're doing tomato soup and pineapple juice. And he says all these things. He goes, yeah, that sounds great. I'll have some. And he just takes his beard and just goes into his bowl.
There you go. Oh, that's,
Classic Don Martin.
Yeah, classic Don Martin. There's a gross version of used tampon as a vampire's teabag, but that's
But it makes sense.
yeah, it does.
All right.
It makes sense. Why is that wall?
Wicked
that,
Wheel.
that doesn't make sense. Why doesn't that make sense, Larry?
Because a
vampire would drink that tea, Larry.
Would he really?
Yes,
Really?
yes.
See, I don't
Yeah.
know about that. I don't know.
You go into Vampire Whole Foods and they would have a section.
That's right. Yeah.
No, it has to be like freshly sucked. It has to be.
No.
Maybe it's fresh
yeah.
menstrual.
So if
blood.
it's fresh, so if there's a woman right there,
Oh God.
Sex
please.
and horror. So where do the kitties hang out upstairs?
yeah, people come over and they kind of hide a little bit,
They're antisocial.
but the male one especially will come out at one point and go, I know that you guys think that this is their house, but it's my house.
Right. Kind of like the way Hef used to do it, where he'd show up at a party for a little bit and go,
Yeah.
hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And in fairness,
Yeah.
he was an older dude, at some of the parties that you went to. So it's like, hey, go, you make your appearance. You're there for about 20, 45 minutes or whatever. And then, okay, I've seen enough. He's done enough parties.
I hope that there's a day someday where I can get out of my upstairs bedroom, put on my bathrobe, walk downstairs and go, I'm at a party. Hi, everybody.
Oh, there's a party going on.
All right. Good night.
You crazy guys. Have fun. I love you. I'll be upstairs banging a couple of playmates.
Yeah, well, I got a new name for the episode. It's called Larry Gets Things Wrong. Larry makes mistakes.
I made a mistake.
I was so glad that you did that. Now I didn't.
We make mistakes.
I know we make
I'm
mistakes.
gonna
Sean made a mistake.
I'm going to eliminate mine during editing.
No. You know who didn't make a mistake tonight? James Gonis.
That's because I didn't say anything.
Yeah, no, you said a lot.
Yeah,
Maybe a little too much.
yeah.
Oh.
Maybe with all those notes.
Shut my mouth.
Did you write your notes on an envelope? You did.
Actually, I wrote them on a Post-it.
Look at I have 6 pages.
Did you ever? Well, my notes were like 30, but I had pictures.
I know, and you had great. Both of you guys had great. Well, Sean did too.
Well,
I love Wally's stories. God, I love those stories.
Yeah, no, that was that was perfect. That was totally perfect.
It's a perfect way to start with Batmobile. I mean,
yeah.
Great.
And Sarah I felt
Sarah's-
stupid that. Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah,
But it's like
there's too many.
Well, that's just it. When we get on our roll, and you're going into other stuff, and then you forget something that may be so obvious. But
What about the land speeder?
Well, yeah, I guess
That's a car.
Sure. Yeah, it is kind of a car. I was going to mention that. I was going to mention Street Hawk.
I was going to mention Psychomania with the motorcycles.
Great.
again,
Do another one.
again,
Yeah. You see, you think about the stuff driving home. It's like shit.
I know.
That's all right. There's too many.
and then we get someone like
I didn't even get to Hot Rods to Hell
no, and your
or Faster Pussycat.
or werewolves.
Werewolves on Wheels.
motorcycles, yeah.
Someone, a lady from Faster Pussycat just passed away.
Yeah, what's her
Susan
name?
Bernard.
Yes.
Or did I have? I'm not sure if I have.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
her.
Wow.
All right.
Death
think.
Proof, the Tarantino movie where Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
I think it's overrated.
I agree.
I don't think it's over. I don't think
I
it's
do.
really even rated.
I don't think it's a good movie at all.
No, it's not.
I don't think people really hold that movie in high esteem.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I understand the concept.
Maybe the hipsters do. But
No,
Well,
there's some arty-farty bullshit that they pull in the
Yes.
middle of it that
Yes.
just ruins it, and it's terrible. No,
Yeah, I mean, it's all well.
and I love Kurt Russell and everything,
Yeah, me
but
too.
Yeah,
it
but-
just didn't work.
When we get either Kurt Russell on the show or
Yeah, we'll get
or
him on.
Quentin,
I thought of Grindhouse Planet Terror is the far superior story.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the fun
It's a lot
one.
more
That's,
fun,
yeah, that's Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Did that
Right.
part,
Yeah.
right?
Also, you know what bugged me is I just felt like at the end just wasn't satisfying enough.
No, it's
and it was
horrible.
like to me, it's like really
Terrible.
after you make me watch all of this,
Yeah.
that's what you give me.
Yeah, no, his batting average is not great.
no.
You know, I'm not
Look,
wondering what the new one's going to be like. The Hollywood one.
Well, look, who amongst us
I hated the
have been
Hateful Eight.
nominated for an
I
Academy
never
Award?
saw that.
But
I had no desire to see that.
No,
I couldn't get through it.
all
I
right.
didn't like it. And now we're
On that note,
okay.
Let's
I am Matt
roll
Weinhold.
out of here. Let's
Keep America strong.
what do they say in Batman? The
What do they say in
atomic
Batman?
power to speed. What's the deal?
No,
What do you say?
Atomic batteries to power turbines to speed.
Or is there a Mach 5 thing? Say, what do we see? Something that's iconic that we mentioned. I think I could go.
You know what I noticed is since we've been doing this, you like to do these sound effect things at the end. Is this a new thing? Are you
Jawa
just,
thing again.
you know? Yeah. Why don't you go? Why don't you say
You're the Michael
"Ooh," why'd you say-
Winslow of
Why'd you
the
say?
show.
Why'd you go say "ooh teeny"?
Can you do a helicopter? Yeah, that's the Jetsons car.
It is. That's all I can do.
I know you do it well. I'll give you that.
That's good.
But that's not. I guess that's kind of a car too. But
No,
wait,
it's
I
good.
got it.
Oh,
what?
Because this came up, but we didn't get to finish it because I asked if anybody remembered the tagline from Megaforce, and Sean remembered it but didn't get to bust it out.
What is it?
Deeds, not words.
Some listener might be waiting for it.
Or I could say, as Ace Hunter would say from Megaforce, deeds, not words.
But that doesn't have anything to. That's not like
All
full
encompassing.
speed ahead,
It's
or
not all
you know.
encompassing, but it
think
does
it's gonna be all
it does
encompassing.
bring closure to something that wasn't captured during the show.
Something like start your engines on fear or something like that, or
start your engines and watch all kinds of films that have.
how about what if we said and remember, Monster Party and cars have a lot in common. We both get gassed,
Nice.
It made me laugh.
and then we could do cheers. We could do another cheers,
Or Sean can make his noise.
Utini.
I'm not doing that.
Or you. Let's race out of here.
There you go.
That's not the sound, though. Oh, that's the sound. That'd be funny. No,
Nah.
I don't know what that is. though.
I
too
think
much.
I think your thing is better. Let's try it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and then we could all go drunken
okay,
roar.
Okay,
and then,
okay. Here we go.
Right?
Yeah.
Then we can all go. Ah!
We do it anyway.
I like a drunken roar, something.
Okay.
Or not, I don't know.
Well, let's give it a shot.
Utini.
Okay, just let you know, James is
Okay.
It's like
here we go.
screwed.
Here we go.
Okay.
Ready? On that note, I am Matt Weinhold. Oh, you fucking asshole. God.
James Gonis, I'd like you to note that it is Shawn Sheridan that is messing this up.
I missed my flight.
He coughed on his own talent. He's just that good.